I just spent the last week making this full growth operating course, A to Z. I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's probably going to be at least 1 or 2 hours. And I'm going to be walking through everything. This took me over a year to learn. It's basically everything that I know summarized into a digestible format for every single part of growth operating, of running an info agency, whatever people are calling it nowadays, so that you can follow it step by step and hit 10, 20, 30, 40K a month like I have with this amazing, amazing business model. Now, first of all, why listen to me? In the last year, I've gone from setter to closer to 50K a month growth operator in under a year. You can see like the receipts in terms of, this is November, we did 50K. You can see some of the payments from WOP, some invoices sent to clients here. There are plenty more that I obviously haven't shown. I've got between 3 and 4 million in client results. I've done 300K months for clients with less than 5,000 followers. You can see here webinars that we've done at 8x ROAS, 100K weeks, 8x ROAS across the board for other clients. There's many, many more that you can see on my Instagram. And I've also licensed these systems I'm going to be kind of sharing with you today, and consulted with other operators doing anywhere from 10 to 50K a month. So there's a few examples here. We had Kala do 240K in 2 weeks with his client. Oscar did 100K in a week with his client. We helped Luke Tran hit 100K a month with a webinar. Another client of mine, Mo, is working with Elastiboy. You might know him, 1.8 million followers. And then we have other clients like Lorenzo, who's making 15 to 20K a month at 15 years old. Hugo, who hits first 10K a month working with me after starting like literally a fucking month ago. So yeah, like pretty good results, and you're going to be learning everything that I know in this video. Also, what is growth operating and why should you get into it? Let's cover this very, very quickly. As a growth operator or info agency owner, you essentially run the back end of coaching businesses. And most of the time, you're going to be partnering with a creator online, on social media, who already has a somewhat decent audience and is already or has the potential to start selling a high ticket info product, often in the form of a mentorship or a course to that said audience. I don't like these fucking, school communities, low ticket stuff. No, we operate with high ticket because that's how you're going to hit 200, 300K months with your clients. What you do as a growth operator is all of this stuff: building funnels, running ads, scripting content, building an offer, packaging an offer, setting up tracking systems, back-end automation systems, and managing the sales team. These are lots of skills. Growth operating is a multifaceted skill set. You need to be able to do lots of things to a high level and then eventually delegate it if you want to scale. We're going to be covering every single skill, how to do it, all of my systems, all of that in this video. So of course, stick around. And for doing all of this, because you're not just a setter or a closer who's doing one single thing, making 5 to 10% commission, you're going to be pocketing maybe anywhere from what you negotiate between 10 and 30% of all of the money, all of the cash you make for the creators that you work with. So for example, with one client that we went to 260K, we did 10K through other processes here in cash in the month of August of 2025. I collected this invoice and like another 3 or 4K. So it totaled up to like 28K for one client in that month, right? So I was taking about 10%. Now, like I said, doing all of this stuff may seem very complicated. It may seem like there's a lot of skill sets that are involved from the outside. And unlike Iman Gadzhi, I wouldn't recommend this kind of growth operator or AI shadow operator model to a complete beginner, because there are a lot of skills involved. And I think if you're a setter or a closer, or you've been a marketer, or you've been in sales, this is like a very good transition for you to make to get higher leverage. But at the same time, the fact that growth operating has a bigger barrier to entry than other business models like sales or things like that, it means that if you are already in sales and you want more leverage and you want to make more money, there's literally not really a better opportunity than this in 2026. And it's literally how I went from 2-3K a month to 50K a month in 9 to 10 months. So yeah, let's get started. First of all, acquisition. We need to acquire clients. And I think the name of the game in business is acquiring and keeping clients. So this first part is going to be going over the acquisition stage, and then the rest of them are going to be going over how to keep clients by getting them really, really good results, and in turn making yourself a lot of money, because obviously you're on a profit share. So in terms of just initial principles of acquisition, first of all, don't be needy. Second of all, you need to be good at what you do, or be willing to very much learn and adapt very quickly once a client is signed. So for example, if you're not actually a good operator, don't expect acquisition to be easy. Acquisition is very easy for me because I have the case studies, because I actually know what I'm talking about when I get on sales calls with potential clients. And then the third pillar of acquisition is doing anything to get in touch with big creators and whale clients and clients in general. So going through the back door, going through connections, like even booking calls with them, paying for one-on-one calls with them if they have that option. That's something that's really important too. So keep these principles in mind at all time. Now, ICP and niches. ICP, for those who don't know, is ideal client profile. Who should you be targeting as a growth operator? Well, so of course, as I said at the start, it's coaches who can sell high ticket programs and high ticket products. For a program or anything to be worth multiple thousands of dollars, and high ticket is essentially, $2,000-$3,000 plus, it has to do these three things. Well, it has to do two of them. It has to solve a painful problem. It has to offer a direct transformation. And as a bonus, if you don't want to start an offer from complete scratch with paid traffic, your client or the coach or whoever you're partnering with should have a qualified and engaged audience. So just to show you kind of a difference between two kind of Instagram pages where you're like, oh, these two accounts, like, could I growth operate for them? This is like an alpha motivation page that just posts reels. These people, although they have, a maybe I don't know about qualified, but although they have an engaged audience, they're not offering any sort of transformation and they're not solving a painful problem. Whereas someone like Luke Tran, who I've consulted with and worked with a little bit in the past, he does. He solves a painful problem of helping traders become profitable. He offers a transformation of helping someone go from nothing to 10, 20K a month with trading. And as you can see here with his follow account, if you saw some of the engagement on his reels, you would see that he has a qualified and engaged audience. A very big mistake a lot of growth operators make is focusing and like only servicing one niche. And this can work well long term, but especially when you're starting out, you really need to first get those first few clients, get some results, and then you can like further niche down and with that one case study, go further into that niche. But especially in the beginning, please do not niche down. Don't only focus on one niche just because Alex Hormozi said so. And another huge piece of advice that I have is, in general, like this isn't a black and white rule. In general, stay away from fitness and stay away from these more kind of temperamental niches, because business opportunity, like this is why I say generally I recommend working with biz op coaches, which means like business opportunity coaches. So coaches who are teaching people how to make more money. These offers are way more, they're much easier to sell and market because the transformation that you're offering has a more tangible return on investment. If someone invests 3K into a program and then the expected outcome is that they can make 10K a month from it, it's very easy to justify that compared to work like spending 3K on a fitness program. And I've worked with fitness offers in the past that have done 50 to 100K a month. It's very possible, but especially as a beginner, I would highly recommend targeting on biz op coaches because, like I said, it's easier to price high and marketing and sales are simpler. And some examples of these biz op coaches and niches, please, you've got AI, you've got Claude, you've got all of these tools. So don't like just focus on these niches, but some examples of trading, e-com, property, and real estate coaching. So don't focus on one specific niche at first. Focus generally on BizOp is what I would recommend. Now, when you're looking for kind of people that you could potentially partner with, these are what you need to look for. There's basically only 4 things that I look for. And for me, it's kind of automatic. So it's kind of difficult to put into like paper what to actually look for. But these are the 4 things, right? So first of all, YouTube presence. Having a good YouTube presence is like by far the easiest way to sell info products, because like even you consuming this video now, you might watch this video, see, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, maybe he can help me, and then look in the link in the description, check out the licensing program that I have where there's one-on-one with me, or if you're a coach watching this for some reason, you might want to partner with my agency. But because I built so much trust with you and shared so much knowledge, it's a very easy way to sell info products. So that's number 1. Number 2 is a high follower to engagement ratio. So sorry, this should be the other way around. It should be high engagement to follower ratio. So essentially, if someone has 500K followers but gets 1,000 views on every post or every reel or every video, that's not very good. But if someone has 2,000 subscribers and is getting 5 to 10K views on each YouTube video and maybe 10,000 views on each reel, that person is clearly growing. That person is getting like a lot of organic traction. So that's another really positive sign. And one example of like YouTube presence and high follower to engagement ratio would be kind of micro niche YouTube channels. Just an example I found the other day was like this guy, I actually know the operator who's running his stuff, where he has, as you can see here, 17,000 subscribers. He has a YouTube video that got 16,000 views. So it's like the follower to engagement ratio is about 1 and 1. 3,000 views. This is kind of like not the best example, but if someone has like 5,000 subscribers or even like just a few hundred subscribers and is consistently pulling in these views and growing, that's a really good sign that they're in like a micro niche, that they're targeting a very specific audience, and that you can actually help them start selling an info product on the side. Another good sign is someone who's currently selling low ticket but with no high ticket funnel, because essentially what you can do for them is, I kind of like to call them like baby clients. They don't actually know that they can sell high ticket. They don't know about this amazing world of scaling to $100,000 months and beyond with a high ticket. And when you can implement that for someone, they'll be forever in your debt and you can charge like a very high rev share. So that's number 3. And then number 4 is having a high ticket funnel that is just simply not very good, where you can come in and improve it. Those are the 4 things that I look for. Now, when you actually go to sign clients, you're going to need to obviously do outreach, which is what we're going to get into. So we're going to go into like profile optimization, content side of things on YouTube that you can use to sign clients, and then obviously outreach and the sales call. So first of all, profile, I'm not going to spend too long on this because it is pretty self-explanatory, and there's actually not really much that you can go wrong here if you just follow what I say. So this is my profile. You can check it out. Once again, link in the description. Essentially, I state what I do. I have like kind of an authority statement. I run a full stack info agency. The name of my agency is Full Stack. You can see all our client results like on my Instagram or on the landing pages below. I have like another authority statement, which is like, okay, I have over 3 million in client results, and I just simply link the YouTube channel that you're watching this video on underneath it. I then also have value highlights on certain funnels. So for example, if you go on this highlight with webinars, it's just pure value and it shows that I know what I'm talking about. And then of course, all of these results, so agency 1, agency 2, and this $1.2 million client here, is just pure case study, pure proof that basically, I know what I'm talking about. And when you're starting out, this is the number one thing I want to emphasize for people starting out with growth operating if you're a complete beginner. And this is why also inside of my licensing, I give all of my case studies to my clients. I show them all like the funnel breakdowns that they can use kind of on their profiles and use in their content. Essentially, you can use borrowed authority, which is basically using other people's case studies, which is kind of devious, but if they're using the systems I've used to get those case studies, I think I'm okay with it. Or you could even use case studies offers you've set or closed, or if you're in the high ticket sales space and you're a setter or a closer, you can essentially say, I contributed in the sales systems that made this person 100K a month. Even if you just close the deals, it's good to kind of use that as a case study. And you can see some examples of case studies that I have here. And the only reason for this, that I have kind of a good profile, I have a like profile picture with my face. This is like self-explanatory. Don't send messages from a fucking blank profile. Don't be a retard. Just make sure that your profile looks human, that, it's someone that if you were going to receive a message from someone, would you, open it? If the answer is no with your current profile, then you need to change things. So like a good profile picture, make sure you get the verified badge. It's kind of like needed now. Good bio, and then client results. And I have a few posts, and obviously reels are something that I'm going to be implementing as well. Reels are great. I should be doing them. I'm going to be doing them. But if you don't have them, it's not the end of the world. I've built my business without posting a single reel so far. Then content. Because just having a good profile is great, but this is something that a lot of people skimp out on and don't do, which is really hurting them and shooting themselves in the foot. Because especially when you're starting out as an operator, and even if you're got 1 or 2 clients now, but you're not really making that much money, your sole job with content is to prove that you know what you're doing, right? And you do this through YouTube. YouTube. Instagram is great. You can have some reels that are clipped up from YouTube, which is what I'm going to start doing. But if you post long format content on YouTube videos, like I said in the ICP section, anyone posting on YouTube will have an easier job of landing clients. What you should be doing at first on YouTube, and what I've started doing, I'm going to show you everything here, is breakdowns of funnels and systems, basically like A to Z funnel breakdowns. And what you can do with this, and what I've seen a lot of success with, and what a lot of other operators have seen success with, is using big names. So big names in the info space, using these people, breaking down their funnels and their systems, using their name basically to get more clicks, garner attention, and show that you understand the game, show that you have expertise. Even if you don't have any client results now, you can still show what other people are doing. And therefore you're kind of getting that borrowed authority once again to be able to, attract booked calls and all of that. I like to do this on Miroboard. This is Miroboard. This is a software that I use to kind of build all of my kind of content breakdowns and this whole full course. And then the strategy is that once you have landed your first clients, break down your results with them and exactly what you implemented for them. And the best part about this is that this is when you really start to build a one-of-one brand and a personal brand, because nobody can replicate your client results. For example, if you look at my YouTube channel, this screenshot was taken a couple of weeks back whilst I've been building this board. You can see that no one can replicate, these sort of videos with the funnel breakdowns and the vlogs of making my clients money. And this builds insane trust. You can even see that if you go on my channel and you go to the first video that I posted, you'll see it's this one. It only got 600 views, but I signed, a high ticket coaching client, literally like no objections, wanted to work with me. This was the only video on my channel, by the way. And I did have another channel before this where I was doing more content breakdowns. I should have kept that one, but obviously I changed channels for some reason in my head. I don't know why I did it. But like you can see, literally the day after this YouTube video was posted, saw the YouTube video about the webinar you did, generated 120K in 3 days, you crushed it. I'm interested in your services and approach. How's your work process and offer? Look here for him soon. And we ended up working together for a multi-4-figure consulting deal. So like that's just the power of YouTube, right? You can sign a lot of clients through YouTube. What I'd recommend with YouTube, if you're starting out, is if you look in the link in the description, I have like landing pages. What I would do is just have a Calendly link. What Calendly is, I'll just show you mine here, is essentially just a scheduling software. So I would set up a Calendly event for yourself where anyone interested in partnering with you, any coaches, can just directly book a call there. So you can essentially just set up an event, put that in the link in the description of your video so that creators can book with you. And then once we get into outreach, I'll show you how you can also put that Calendly event on the looms that you send outbound to sign clients. So yeah, these YouTube videos, you may think that, are only 100 views, but I'm telling you right now, over the last, in the first 9 YouTube videos that I posted have made me well over $40,000 in setup fees in the 2 months after that I posted them, because from my outreach and from referrals in my network, and even from just people finding the videos organically, even though they had a very low views, the value was there so that these people were converting as clients. And I charge high ticket, right? So for example, I charge, a 5K setup fee. I actually got referred a client or potentially referred a client. And before my call with them, they watched all of the YouTube videos that I had on my channel. And that essentially, led to them converting because they were very sure in my service. And then of course, all these other wires, you can see all of these YouTube videos contributed either getting me the leads or heavily nurturing the leads that I, reached out to with outreach and things like that. So going on to outreach, this is where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people overcomplicate things. There isn't I don't want to, in this full course, I'm not going to, and even in my licensing program, I'm very careful giving direct scripts, direct messages you can send, because they get saturated very quickly, number one, and they stop working. And number two is that if you don't understand the principles of outreach and the principles of signing clients, you might sign a client, but then you're not going to be able to sign more. So we're going to cover all of it now. First of all is lead scraping. So this kind of ties back into the ICP. How do we find more of these high ticket coaches that we can partner with as growth operators? Well, the first way is through YouTube and Instagram, because you got to think about it. These clients, if you want to actually land a good growth operating client, and a lot of growth operators don't do this, they try and sign anyone. They end up working with shit clients. They're making 1 or 2K a month. They barely do anything. If you want to sign good clients, you got to go to the platforms that other people are going to find them on, and other people are going to want to buy from them. So what I like to do is, first of all, look for micro niche YouTube channels that I mentioned using YouTube search. So on one of my YouTube accounts, I have a home feed that basically shows me a lot of these channels, because I only use that account to search for the channels. And essentially that channel just keeps showing me more and more of those channels. Just for the purpose of this video though, I'm going to use just a new YouTube account. You see, I've got, it's my YouTube account, but I actually don't watch YouTube on this account. It's got Mr. Peace, it's got Alex Hormozy, it's got some fucking reels, cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just search for micro niche YouTube channels in different, business opportunity niches. So for example, what I do is I'd search, Amazon FBA, just copy me. This kind of title of just copy me, or make 10K fast, or whatever, typically do really well on these micro niche YouTube channels. Then what I like to do is just filter for obviously just videos. And you can see here already, there are people who, like this Dave guy, if I have a look here, he's got kind of a micro niche YouTube channel. His follow to engagement ratio is kind of low. He's not really getting that many views. We could check him out on YouTube, on Instagram, and kind of see what motion he's got going on over there. Already a potential client that we could be outreaching to and we could be working with. We've got people like Jats. Actually, no, Jats, I've been seeing his ads on my page. We've got people like Eric Cooper. I don't know this guy. He's clearly running a webinar. So this is someone, potentially he's already got a growth operator, or potentially we could see if we can help him improve this funnel. And we'll be going down into webinars and all of that shortly. but you can see that he's not really uploading. He's not really got much motion, so I wouldn't actually work with this guy. So you can basically go through, test a load of different titles. Also like filtering by recent with these people. But for example, let's see this Crescent guy. Once again, the follow to engagement ratio, not that high. If we go to a different niche, for example, like YouTube automation, I have a client in the YouTube automation niche. So, you know, I know it pretty well. I know a lot of the people in the space. For example, this Brem guy, he's doing YouTube Shorts. He has 7,000 subscribers, but his videos are actually doing quite well. Or even he's getting more views than the number of subscribers that he has. And you can see here that if we click like kind of the links and you kind of act as if you were a lead, act as if you were someone interested in, you know, getting more help from this guy.
Marketing is easy.
You can see that he's just got a free YouTube course on WOP. And he's also got a $45 a month community. So this is someone that could potentially launch a high ticket product. And he kind of checks the criteria. If we go back to the Miro board here, he kind of checks the criteria of someone that has a YouTube presence, has a high follower to engagement ratio, is currently selling low ticket with no high ticket or no visible high ticket. And obviously doesn't have a high ticket funnel that is bad because it's non-existent. So this is someone that kind of ticks all three boxes, and it literally took me, a couple of minutes to find them. Then another thing you can do is on Instagram. On Instagram, essentially what you want to do is just find one big creator in a niche that you're targeting. So for example, that day, okay, I'm going to be doing outreach to trading creators, right? You find one person, this shouldn't be difficult. You go in the Instagram search bar and you search trading mentor, trading coach, trading, and you find some reels, you scroll on reels, you'll find someone in the trading niche, and you want to ideally find someone who follows a lot of other people in the trading space. So for example, Luke Tran, this is just like an example of someone that I'm going to go through. What you can do from going onto Luke Tran's profile is essentially scroll down his following list or even go in his comment section and essentially find, okay, this is a future, not someone who trades futures, but essentially go through and find a bunch of leads. Anyone here that I'm seeing like with a verified badge or that has a decent following, that has trading in their name, I'm just going to be opening up in a new tab. And essentially, like already here, I can see this guy, 139K followers, decent engagement on some of the posts. If we look at the reels, let's see the engagement. Okay, pretty good. He's averaging like 200K views on this video. He's averaging like 50K views maybe. This is like a very good person. Maybe, if you're a beginner, if you can't get in direct touch with him, it's going to be hard to sign him as a client. But you can see that he doesn't have a high ticket offer, or he has a Discord that then maybe leads to a high ticket. But this is definitely not an optimized funnel by any means. So this is definitely a potential client that you can work with. You can see that Aval kind of definitely has like a decent high ticket funnel into place. But you could obviously provide value on what is wrong with this funnel. Like, it kind of looks quite ugly. There's no VSL. There's only just a type form, which is pretty odd. Like, I think a VSL would improve the conversion of this application page. So that's like another thing. Essentially, we just go through and like make a list of all these people that you find. And then like once you find another creator like this Baron guy, I have no idea who he is. I can then go through his following and see, okay, like another trader here. No, probably not. He doesn't have the followers. Neither does this guy. This guy has 23K followers. Okay, let's open him. And this is literally like you can scrape, I don't know how many leads. In 1 hour, you can get 100 leads. And that's kind of like if you're sending 3 looms a day, 3 custom looms a day, or you want to send 20 evergreen looms a day, like that's basically you like ready for the month in a sense, right? So it doesn't take a lot of time. It's very, very easy to do. And then once again, you find one lead. Okay, perfect. I'm going to save him to my sheet. I'm then going to go through his following. And like, this is where you can really like compound quickly and find a lot of leads. And generally your like ability to see who's actually worth making a custom loom for, kind of the case studies you already have. Because what I love to do is if I have a case study in that niche, it just makes signing that kind of client 10 times easier. So yeah, going through niches that you're in and all of that side of things. Like, for example, this guy, okay, let's see. He's following 62 people. There's like more traders. You get the point. These are all people you can outreach to. And that's kind of how I go about manual lead scraping. But there's another whole element to this, which is the NAN kind of lead scraper that I have set up. It is the best lead scraper on the market compared to anything else out there. I know there's like a few other people talking about lead scrapers that are complete horseshit compared to this one. So I have one for both Instagram and YouTube. And essentially they go into my outreach tracker, or they used to, because typically now with outreach, I'm not actually pushing it super hard, because I'm at the point with my agency where I have like 5, even 6 now, if one comes on board, done for you clients, to the point where we're kind of at capacity with how far we want to take things, at least for now, whilst these clients are getting set up. So like, because we onboarded like 2 new clients very recently. So it's a case of, okay, I'm slowing down on the outreach, but I can still use this lead scraper and gather the leads and just really target the high quality ones. But especially when you're starting out, you want to be doing as much outreach as possible. So this kind of tool, which I have obviously for my licensing clients, is super, super useful. If you want to go and build one and try and build one, you can. But if you want to save time, then obviously just send me a message and I can see about getting you set up. Next, the actual outreach itself. Now, like I said, I'm going to leave you with the principles rather than exactly, what to say. First of all, in terms of looms, I think looms are kind of the only way to sign clients in terms of build enough trust to then get them on a call, or show enough value to get them on a call so that you can actually sign them. You don't have to start off your first message with a loom. You can just send like kind of very low key, not trying to sell them outreach as the first message, and then obviously send them a loom, then do that side of things, which I highly recommend. But in terms of looms themselves, there are 2 different types. You've got a custom loom, which is essentially a loom where you record something like, you're only going to send it to this one person. You break down their specific funnel, you give them specific value on what they're missing, and it's just sent straight to them. What you do with these custom looms, and what I do, this is kind of saucy, is I add the creator to my close friends. I then put the close friends story up, just tagging them. I then have the link of the loom in the story that they can click on. I tag them in the story, and then essentially it like increases the view rate by a ton. I also send them a message, also go into the comment section, acting like a fan, just acting like a human being, just putting comments, liking their posts, making sure I'm following them, seeing if I can get into touch with any of their mutuals. This is kind of what I mean by the backdoor close, and why, like, what you have to do when you're starting out to be able to sign clients. It is like go the extra mile. And so custom looms can be a really, really good way to target like the best leads, the leads that you really want to work with the most and that you see a big opportunity with. I tend to do custom looms. And then for the rest, now, like custom loom, evergreen loom, typically I like custom looms more. I find more success with targeted custom looms, but it doesn't hurt for like lower quality leads, or if you can get a VA or get an appointment setter or anyone. A VA is typically who you'd want to use to be able to send evergreen looms for the rest. So this is a loom where essentially you break down your client results, what you do, how it works, how onboarding works, and like everything that you do in like an evergreen format so that anyone can watch it and get value from it and potentially be interested in working with you. Typically when you're starting out, I would never do this. I would always do custom looms when starting out, because you actually have to have a lot of case studies for this even to be like have any likelihood of working. But if you are going to do evergreen looms, what I would get your VA to do, or even you to do if you want to do it yourself, is take a screenshot of the Instagram profile of the person you're reaching out to, put that as the thumbnail on Loom, and then obviously edit the title out and have their name in it. Like, this is for name. Really big opportunity for you. And then you can basically click the 3 dots that come up on Loom, duplicate that Loom, and for the next person, just adjust the thumbnail and then adjust the title. And what that will do is it will make it look like a custom Loom, even though it's not a custom Loom at all and it's just evergreen. Yeah, that's like I say here. In terms of Loom structure, this is kind of one that I use GPT to summarize my Loom structure. This was an evergreen one that I was running before that did land me a couple of clients. And I start off with a hook, which is normally like a promise, some sort of guarantee. So I say, I'm going to guarantee you can get to this amount working with me, or I can make you this amount of money, like I have done for all of these people. And I just like showcase a ton of client results. And if you don't have client results, like I say, use borrowed authority, join a program where you can use someone else's client results. If you're a setter or closer, use the results of the offer you've been on, or use the results that other people have, like use the results of big names in the space. For example, if you want to run a webinar for someone, or you want to get someone to start selling high ticket, if that's your kind of value proposition, what you're going to want to do is essentially say, oh, this person is doing this, I can help you implement it as kind of your social proof through the association. It's like authority association. For me, this Loom is like targeting more of like people who want to do webinars. So I educate them on the mechanism And I also use authority through association of other big figures in the space running webinars. I then, like, what a lot of people don't do on their looms is kind of like just give the information. Give the information to someone. If they're going to watch a loom and they get to the end, they're going to want more information. So I basically show them like the full service stack of what we do, how it works, and also what the onboarding process looks like, as well as like kind of saying it's a setup fee plus a rev share. You can book a call with me. Another cool thing you can do on Loom, I would recommend buying Loom Premium or whatever it is you can like make a button appear here in the top right of the Loom, which is like book a call with me, and then add your Calendly link there. But yeah, that's kind of like an evergreen Loom process. In terms of my custom Loom process, like I haven't even written this down, but I'm going to run you through it very quickly. I typically go with the same kind of like hook or promise, like that involves a lot of social proof. Then I go into like current problem. I point out specific problems that I see in their funnel that we have solved for other people. I then show them the solution that I have implemented for other people and what like the benefits of implementing it would look like. And then of course I might drop in, okay, what happens if you don't implement this? This is how much you're missing out on. And then I can like kind of end with the same thing of like, this is the service stack that we do. This is how we onboard people. This is how it sort of looks. If you have any questions, just send me a message straight back. I'll reply. I don't have a setter. And if you're like very eager, just book a call with me and we can chat and I can show you like exactly how it looks and give you more information on a call. I don't want to give you like a specific word by word thing. I actually do my looms on a Miro board like this, where I essentially just, show client results and I just go around on the Miro board. I might even open a tab with a specific funnel. But bear in mind that if you copy someone else's outreach, it's not going to work. It gets saturated. It doesn't work. You need to understand it from first principles, which is this. And when you are DMing people, vary your DMs. Make sure you're tracking your outreach. Make sure your DMs, sometimes you might want to say, hey, I just recorded this custom loom for you on how you can scale your offer with this, this, and this. I help this person. Like the typical outreach message I send is like, hey, I did this for this person. Not sure if it would help you, but I recorded a loom on kind of breaking down how it might look if we were to help. Done. Just using this authority like makes people interested, especially if they are following or they know that person that I've helped in the past. And it's very like easy for me to say this with case studies. What I did when I didn't have case studies is, hey, I worked as a setter or a closer for this person. I did this, 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 and this. And I even like told white lies because I was so confident in my ability to deliver a service. And I think a lot of people's failures when it comes to outreach is actually not being confident that they can do good work for clients, which is of course what we're going to solve later on in this video, where we go over how to actually fulfill for clients. But I hope that all kind of makes sense. And you can also go in like Instagram DMs super nonchalant and say, hey, is that name? Hey, what's your workout routine, bro? Hey, seen this is crazy. If you have a good enough profile with good enough, mutuals and a decent follower size, you can buy followers. Like it doesn't make too big a difference. But if you're just trying to slide in nonchalant and just send, normal text, then hey, I love your content. Do you do coaching? And then you can say, oh, do you mind if I send over a loom? I saw some things, I helped this person. Or, hey, I just recorded you a loom. That can work. And this is typically for like those better leads where you then record and send a custom loom. The evergreen looms are kind of like more shots in the dark where you spray and pray. This is more like a fucking sniper rifle, if that makes sense. I think that's a good analogy. So yeah, then if you do all of this properly, like I've told you to, you should be booking in sales calls on your Calendly. Now, a lot of people get scared of sales calls, especially if you haven't been a closer. But if you have been a closer, you'll understand what I'm talking about here, is that you shouldn't see your sales calls with these creators that you want to work with as a sales call. You need to be seeing them like a diagnosis call, as if you were a doctor, like you're this guy over here. Because really, a good growth operator isn't going to promise the world to anyone that they don't actually see themselves being able to help. You need to see if, first of all, and then how you can help the coach scale. So come to the call completely neutral, and your main goal should be asking questions about their business. This isn't a super emotional B2C sales call. You just need to get a clarity on their business, what problems they have, where they want to go. And the main thing on a B2B sales call is that, especially as someone who wants to you got to understand, as a growth operator, you're essentially a business partner. And so you need to, on that sales call, don't withhold any value. Offer value, like say what you would do for them, show what you would do for them. Don't only tell. Like this is another principle, like with your looms. Don't just tell people what they can do. Show them what you can do. Show them examples of landing pages, even if you don't have any client case studies. Show them examples of what things would look like. Always show, don't tell. And this again, like separates you from these Iman Gadji shadow operator plebs that just can't they just don't know what they're talking about. So make sure you're always showing value. And then from the questions you ask them on the call, based on what they need, pitch your solution. And I'm going to get into like how you should pitch and how you should actually do that. But in terms of your like kind of discovery phase, it should just be like don't have a script. Don't have a fucking script. Just ask them where they're at in their business, you know, what's holding them back from selling high ticket, or what problems are they having with their high ticket funnel? Is it the sales team? Is it this? Is it that? And then obviously pitch your solution as the bridge for them to get from where they are now to where they want to go. Typically inside of my agency, we have two different solutions for coaches. The first solution is like a done for you full stack. Like my agency is called Full Stack for a reason. We offer the full stack of services across the board when it comes to scaling a high ticket funnel. So this would be, you know, with creators where I want equity in their business. I see myself working with them for a long time. They're a good client and we want to do the full everything, ads, marketing, sales, for an upfront setup fee and rev share, or also including a retainer. So it could be an upfront setup fee plus a retainer plus a rev share. It could just be an upfront setup fee and a rev share, or it could be an ongoing retainer plus a rev share and even a setup fee like beyond that. So like we have, like I said, 5 to 6 coaches that we're working with at the moment inside of the agency where we do have equity in their business. But we've also done build and releases. That's what B&R stands for. A build and release is essentially where you build something once, typically for just a setup fee, and then the client can use that and use it, and then they go off with it, and you don't have any kind of rev share or profit share in their business. And typically, I offer this to smaller coaches who outreach to me or who reply to my outreach that don't want everything done for them. They still want to maintain all of their equity, where we just kind of do something. So this could be, you know, just building out one type of funnel, just placing a few sales reps or playing some sales management systems, building out a landing page, doing content scripting, or doing something like that on a monthly retainer without a rev share, where it's more of a build and release style. And you could also eventually get your agency to the point where, like me, you have like licensing, where essentially you just send them a course or send them your systems that they can implement for themselves. So this is like the 3 kind of pillars: done for you, this is more like done with you, and this is like DIY, do it yourself. So those are kind of, but initially as a growth operator, you're going to be mainly pitching this one. But bear in mind that you can charge, you know, 3, 4, 5K. I've charged, you know, 7K for a webinar build and release. So this wasn't even a smaller coach. This was Honest Brands. They came to me just wanting a webinar, and essentially they already had great sales systems. They already had a great funnel, great ads running. They just wanted a webinar. So we just did the webinar build and release. We did it for them. They made, you know, $130,000 cash in a week from it. And yeah, it was great. And then typically when we pitch, you want to use a pitch with a price anchor and then remove services they don't need. This is more for like build and release. It's like normally when we do done for you services, we charge 10K setup fee and this amount of rev share. But since this is just a build and release for this one service, we'll do it for 3K plus 10%, which seems a lot lighter than if you just say, okay, it's going to be 3K and 10% because you've price anchored with kind of the done for you. And even with the done for you services, I would typically say, for done for you, we charge 10K and whatever. But since you actually don't need these content systems, if they've already got content on lock, or since like right now, you wouldn't actually need this complex tracking board that we normally do, we can make it X price with this. And typically, like for me inside of my agency, like this is once again, like something that I do now because it's like I've gotten case studies, like we're running quite a big business. I will not work typically with a client without a setup fee, unless like it's an amazing fucking client that I really, really want to work with that has a crazy organic presence, simply because it's not worth my time. So I would recommend, like, once again, don't be needy in your outreach. Make sure that you are positioning yourself correctly as a business partner, as someone serious that doesn't just need clients and is trying to make a quick amount of money, and charge a setup fee, and make sure that you are, negotiating a good deal on the rev share that is relative to the service that you can provide. After that, hopefully you'll close them. You'll handle any questions or objections that they have, and you will send over like a contract. You can draft this up with ChatGPT. I have templates in the licensing, and then you're going to be onboarding them. Now, what I do with onboarding is already, like most creators that I work with will have a ton of YouTube videos, a ton of Instagram, and I'm going to use an AI tool like Manus AI or even Claude, where I'm going to send all of the transcripts, everything that I can, like regarding the offer, into an AI project, and I'm going to ask for AI documents, which I'm going to get into in a second. However, what I also ask for is an onboarding voice note from the client themselves, where essentially it goes into them, it goes into their offer, and if they don't have an offer, then obviously we skip this. It's just like, okay, what do you want to sell? What, like blah, blah, blah. what clients have they had in the past. And once again, if they don't have any clients, then obviously skip this. And then obviously the uniqueness and angles of what they're teaching. If it's a client that's never sold anything, typically I'll just hop on a call with them and just ask them questions for like 20 minutes rather than getting a voice note. But like I said, this voice note and alongside all of the other like content and context that you have originally on them is going to be very useful when creating the offer, writing the copy, and building the sales scripts, which we're going to get into. Also in onboarding, like I have an onboarding document for any client that does come into the agency. We need to get access to their softwares and their systems. And I like to do this obviously when onboarding them. So yeah, you should have onboarded a client. You should have onboarded 2, 3 clients. A big lesson I've learned is don't slow down outreach just because you've signed a client. But yeah, the next thing that you're going to need to do when you sign a client is researching their market, and AI is going to be pivotal in all of this. So the first thing to understand is with all the content, with all the onboarding stuff and all of the market research that you do. So like I say, when it comes to having data, when it comes to them already having sold something, you're going to want to use YouTube videos, Instagram reels, sales call recordings are absolutely huge. And then also any like current clients that they have, if they've ever done questionnaires and feedback with their current clients, using that as well, and plugging all of that data into AI. And if they don't have, like, they've never sold an offer before, you want to take the launch or the process of like creating the offer and doing that a little bit slower. What you're going to want to do is do polls on Instagram stories or in Instagram DMs with clients and essentially ask the people in the creator's audience to fill out a Google form with some questions on it in return for like a small lead magnet or a small gift, whatever. Also, when you do this, make sure to ask for their contact information, because people who are willing to fill out some sort of like questionnaire form or market research maybe more likely to buy the offer. But essentially, the questions that you want to ask and really what you understand about the audience is relative to the goals that they want to achieve. What is their biggest pain point? What is that goal that they want to achieve? What are the biggest things stopping them? If I create a solution that solves this problem for you A to Z, what would your realistic budget be? And then kind of like your country and the country and the age of like the audience to confirm buying power. And with all of those results, you can once again use Manus AI to analyze all those results, give you the averages, and then chuck that into AI. It also gives you very good context on like, okay, if the responses to these are like you're getting a majority of leads from third world countries and they're very young, they might not have a lot of buying power for a high ticket offer. Whereas if it's an older demographic from the US or the UK, they're going to have more money to spend on the offer. So that can help you price and structure the offer accordingly, which we'll get into. But essentially, what you're going to want to do is with all of this data, so with all of the if you have data, great. If you don't have much data, then obviously do this. Also, the onboarding voice note. What you're going to do is chuck it all into AI using Manus or Claude. Why you do this is because it helps you understand, it helps AI understand the pain points, desires, and context on the ICP. It understands the actual creator themselves, the philosophy behind their brand, and it allows us to write exceptional copy, amongst other things, that really hits home. So like I said, use all the current recordings and the voice note transcript to create these very important 5 documents. And I've shown examples from clients. You're going to create a document on how the offer owner speaks so that all of the email messaging and copy is aligned with actually how that person would speak. Because a big issue with AI copy is that it doesn't actually sound like the person, it just sounds like AI. So this is going to really help that. And what you're going to ask AI to do, if I have prompts for these inside of my licensing, but if you want to do this, just ask AI now to make a prompt so that if I added all of the YouTube videos and content from this creator that I've signed, you need to make me a brand voice profile document, which is essentially going to help you write better copy in the brand voice. So you're going to create a document like that. This is JSON formatting. If you don't know what this is, kind of like AI language, it helps it easier. It makes it easier for AI to like understand what you've written. Then you're going to want a brand story profile for like the story and the journey of the creator themselves. Then exact pain points and desires. Typically we do this from the sales call recordings that we have. So if the offer does have sales call recordings, use those. And if the offer doesn't have sales recordings, you can use this kind of Google form to create like a pain points and desires document. You're also going to want to have a testimonials document, which is like every single client result for the AI to like integrate into the marketing emails and story sequences and whatever. And if you don't have any client results, then you're probably going to have to skip this one, or just make sure that the brand story, the result that the creator has gotten is very detailed. And then most importantly, you're going to want the ICP document. And I'm going to drop some source on what you want the ICP document to cover. You want to ask AI to give you a complete demographic and psychological overview of the ICP for the offer based on all the context and content that you give it. Ask it for raw internal monologues of the ICP, like things that the ICP would obsess over, what they complain about, their own limiting beliefs and objections that they face, their fears, their vision, like what they want to achieve, so that the AI knows throughout all of the copy, and you know throughout all of the marketing and sales process exactly who you're helping. Like I said, I recommend using Manus for constructing AI documents because it doesn't hallucinate. So this is manus.im, manus.im. And then, like I said, based on all of this, like all of these documents that you create, you put them in one project. And then after that, like you're chilling. Like this is the first thing we do when we onboard a new client. It's the reason why I'm going over it now, is because I can like make an insane offer, and I can make, great YouTube content, and I can make great sales scripts simply because it takes me no time at all, because I already have all the context that I need and all of the examples that I need to relay that context from. So I can make sales scripts, lead magnets, copy, all of that just based on this. So I hope that makes sense. Next, we're going to go over offer creation, because even with like once you've researched the market, you're still going to need to create an offer for the audience or optimize the current offer. So this is how like I do offer optimization or offer creation across clients. First of all, having a unique mechanism. This doesn't have to be a woo-woo, freelance brand scaling like a random ass name, but it does have to be the specific way that helps someone get a transformation. So for less aware audiences, and this is by awareness levels, it's like for people who are not as sophisticated. They are more like, 9-to-5ers, blah, blah, blah. I want to leave my 9-to-5 with a business model. Like the business model itself can be the unique mechanism. It doesn't have to be as complicated as woo-woo freelance brand scaling, which is basically SMMA. It could just be SMMA, social media marketing agency. That's what it was when Ty Lopez started it 10 years ago. For example, like one of my clients is AI YouTube automation. This in itself is a unique mechanism. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. But if you want to go up like an extra level, you could have called it AI content automation, whatever. Like you could have like made it super swazzy, because I've kind of added AI onto it. Like it's not just YouTube. It like used to be called YouTube automation. Now it's AI YouTube automation. Makes it a little bit more unique. But essentially a unique mechanism separates you from the crowd. It makes your offer unique. Second of all, your offer has to serve a real painful problem that has money behind it and offer this transformation. So typically the offer has to get people out of pain. It has to be targeted towards people with good purchasing power. It has to be niched down, like I say, with a unique mechanism, and be in a growing or stable market. You do not want to be running an offer, for example, for something like SMMA, which is kind of dying down. That's why someone like Brez has gone into freelance brand scaling, which is the same thing kind of, but with a different name. So it's kind of now a growing market. You want to have an offer statement for the offer. So essentially the offer statement is kind of just for you to have in the back of your mind. It's like, I help specific niche or specific person. So I help everyday people. I help 9-to-5ers leave their jobs and make 5K a month, which is the outcome that they're getting in 90 days without doing X, Y, and Z, using XYZ unique mechanism. Like that's like a very solid offer statement that you want to have, just so that you're clear on exactly who you're helping and what you do with the offer. Second of all, with the offer, this is Alex Hormozy's offer equation. This is basically everything you need to know about an offer, is that the value that someone sees in an offer is how likely they are to, get their dream outcome, what their dream outcome is. So how good is the dream outcome? How likely are they to achieve it? Add those up on the top of the equation, divided by the time delay that it takes, and the effort, plus the effort and sacrifice that is needed to achieve it. And essentially, the higher the number, so the more you increase the top and decrease the bottom, the more you can charge and the better your offer is. So that's something to bear in mind. The quicker you can get people results, the less that they have to do, the more likely that is that they get the results, and the better the result is all you need to be optimizing for with your offer. Next, like I say, inside of my agency, I have different offer tiers. I have it done for you, I have it done with you, I have a licensing. And a huge mistake I see operators make is that they simply don't have more offers for their clients. Having one offer is like putting yourself in a fucking box. Like, oh, we only have this 5K offer. And the people who have 2 or 3K to spend might not be able to do it. You're leaving money on the table. So what I like to do across all clients is have 3 different tiers of offer. One, like the most expensive one being either like a one-on-one / done for you offer. So it's very difficult with info to like do done for you, but there can be done for you elements, for example. So maybe partial done for you elements. Heavy one-to-one with the offer owner themselves. It has the highest price, the lowest volume of people coming into the offer, and kind of the heaviest fulfillment. And is obviously only suitable if your client does want to do one-on-one calls and does want to deliver. But these sort of offers can be like 10K plus We like to have like it can also serve as a price anchor for like the mid-tier offer, which is normally like the flagship offer, the most sold offer. So this is really, really important. Inside of the mid-tier offer, you're pretty much just gonna want to have a classic kind of offer stack of like, okay, coaching, which is like group calls or maybe some one-on-one calls with a CSM. You're going to want to have like the course and the resources and the systems in place for that. And also like some sort of accountability, group calls, extra PDFs, extra resources, that kind of and a community that constitutes to like a mid-tier program. And these you'll typically sell between 3 and like 6K, depending on the offer. And then DIY, which is basically like the mid-tier offer, but essentially just the course, just the community, but no coaching. So basically it's like super hands-off for when you sell it. This you probably want to sell for between 1 and 3K, like I say, depending on the niche, where it's essentially used to liquidate the wider audience that just won't buy the high ticket, and that you can potentially, after they see some initial results on the DIY, upgrade to the done with you or the done for you. And this is something I've seen across my clients. I've started off with just one service and then upsold them to the full done for you. We do this across our clients' coaching businesses as well, where we ascend people and make sure we can upsell. So this is essentially how you want to do it. And like I say, these are the deliverables that I basically just went over here. So like the 5K offer, one-on-one calls and chat with a CSM, group calls, course, community. This would be just the course and just the group calls and the community. So no one-on-one. And obviously you're going to have guarantees, and I'm going to get into that in a second, but this is kind of the best way to structure offers. Also, like, people price too low. If you're like, if you're getting client results, and if people going through the program are expected to make 10K a month, which is 120K a year, how much can you charge for that program? At least 5 to 10K. Way too many operators are underpricing their services, so that's something to bear in mind. Also, for like when you create the offer, you want to map the ICP journey just in terms of like how to structure an offer that actually gets results. And this is what I've done in my licensing program. Is like, okay, these are the steps you need to follow, kind of step by step. So first you need to sign a client, then you need to know how to deliver a client, then you need to be able to scale and hire a team. That's kind of like the journey of someone who's going to come through my coaching program. And then I'm going to define the core deliverables that will get them there. So it will be, for a BizOp coaching offer, not necessarily my offer, it'll be weekly coaching calls, a one-to-one onboarding call, and tech support, basically a course or full curriculum, different templates, different like guides on different things is more for my offer, and then accountability. So having check-ins, having a tracker, being able to review certain milestones is something you can do in the offer as well. And this should also make sure that the offer actually gets results, because as a growth operator, especially for me, it's very important I only work with clients that I really like, get results for their clients, because if not, it's just, you're running a scam. There's no way that you can work with that and sleep at night. So yeah, also pricing. This is kind of how I decide program prices, what I was mentioning before. What is a realistic outcome for a successful client in the program? And this is typically for BizOp offers. It's very different when it comes to like charging for non-monetary services. But let's say a realistic outcome is someone making $6,000 a month or $5,000 a month, which is $60,000 a year. You want to divide that by 10, and that's essentially the program price that you want to sell at. So 6K. If you have more authority and more social proof, you could up it. If you have less, you could decrease it. If it's more one-on-one, you can up it. If it's less, you can decrease it. Also, if your audience is more affluent, they have more money, you can increase it. And if the audience demographic is a little bit cooked, you might want to decrease it. Also, based on the close rate of your offer, you want to adjust the price. So if you're closing at the price you've decided at like 40 to 60% close rate on qualified leads, your price is too low. Keep increasing it by 1K until the close rate is at like 25 to 35%, typically like 1 in 3, 30% is like a very good ballpark. As long as your sales systems and everything that we're going to cover later on in this video is dialed, if your close rate is around there, your pricing is typically good. Because if you're closing at 60% and you end up, doubling the price and then closing at 30%, you're going to say close the same amount of deals. You're going to have down sales for the leads that aren't good for the highest ticket option. And you're going to have less headache with fulfillment, especially for your creator. Because another bottleneck that I see with growth operators is that they don't actually help their client with fulfillment. They don't help their client actually get good results with people in their program. The client is stressed out. They can't even focus on their current business model, whatever it is. So doing this is also really, really important. In terms of an offer guarantee, because it is very, very important, there are 3 types that I've seen run and that we've run across certain clients. I'm going to be going over them and kind of like which ones are best. So you've got first of all, you've got the work until, kind of like work with you for free until, or performance-based kind of guarantee, where it's like, if you don't hit this result in this time frame and you've done everything we've said, we'll work with you completely for free until you do. This one is good. Like, it's a good guarantee. It gives people security. There's not really any risk of refund, because with this, like with this language and in the agreement that you have, you'll probably say, okay, you had to have done X amount of inputs, showed up to this amount of group calls, and done this, this, and this for us to honor this guarantee. And typically anyone who has actually honored those criteria will have gotten the result. And even if they haven't, you'll continue coaching them for free. There's no refund risk until they are at the result. So this is like typically the guarantee that I like to use the most across offers. You also then can do conditional refund guarantees. You can do, okay, if you don't do these things, you're not going to get a guarantee. But if you do and you don't achieve the result I'm promising, I will completely refund you. Typically, I don't like this. It can be very bait and switch and scammy. For example, Charlie Morgan used to run this, like, I can guarantee you this, this, and this. And when you actually look at the fine print of the agreement, it's like you have to spend 24 hours a day doing this. You have to attend every group call, and no one ever gets a refund. But it can be good. It can be good, you know, like a refund guarantee. But it does require very clear and, you know, ethical terms and conditions, as well as proper tracking of what clients are doing. Another thing you can do, and this, like we've done across some offers, this is where you're so confident in the offer, you do just a simple unconditional refund guarantee. 15 to 30, like maybe for the first week of joining, if for whatever reason you think, okay, this is not a fit, we'll refund you, no questions asked. This is amazing for very strong offers, and it, like, your close rate and what you can do and how you can scale is phenomenal, because you actually have a good offer, you're helping people, and you're confident in your product. And yes, maybe, you know, 1, 2, 3% of people will just refund because it's not for them. It just completely, you know, you rarely get any chargebacks beyond the 1 week period, because, like, look, you had a chance for a refund, you've committed to this, and it helps the closers on call close more deals, because it's literally like, if you don't like this, you can just back out. This kind of unconditional refund is so good. So good in terms of helping people close. Also, with an offer, you want to add bonuses. So bonuses in terms of offers is like, you want them to do these two things. Number one is save time or money. And number two is solve future problems that successful clients will have. So a bad bonus is like, oh, we're going to give you all of this more course content. But some good bonuses, for example, in my offer, like a bonus would be all of my done for you funnel templates. Like a BizOp offer, it might be, you know, access to this pool of connections and freelancers that we have. We have these sort of discount codes. These are things that save money, save time, and that are great. And then like a done for you element, done for you store setup on an ecom offer, things like that are really, really good. And always attach, when you're pitching, when your closers are pitching, or in the offer, whatever you're doing, always attach a value tag. So, you know, this freelancer pool is worth 1K, but you're getting it for free if you join the offer. And obviously the clear benefit is that, you know, for example, a clear benefit of having my done for you funnel templates so that you're not going to have to waste hours building funnels, and you have very, very good templates used from day one that are proven to get results. The final thing that you want to do with any offer when you're starting it is ask yourself this one question, which is, like, I do this every time I launch an offer. What could we add or improve or change within this offer so that we could confidently charge 2 times the price and it still feels like a no-brainer? This will give you so many ideas of things you can add that then lead to like more perceived value. If we look at the offer equation, it will seem like people feel like they can get the dream outcome quicker with more likely less time, less effort and sacrifice, and therefore they see more value in it, and therefore you can charge more dollars. So yeah, that's a full breakdown on kind of offer and offer creation. That should cover everything. And let's move on swiftly to traffic, because once you're a growth operator, you've acquired a client, you've done all the market research, you've prepared the AI stuff, you've got the offer. But if you can't get traffic for the offer consistently, there's going to be a problem. So we're going to be quickly going over how you can help your creator get traffic. Number one is through YouTube. Number two, through Instagram. And then obviously we go over some paid ad fundamentals. With YouTube content, like I said, this is number one. Number one, this is king. You need your creator to be ripping on YouTube. If they aren't, you just sign them from Instagram. You need to start getting them to post YouTube content. YouTube content comes into 3 buckets: top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. I'm using Brez as an example because it's just such a good example. He has top of funnel content, which is essentially just lifestyle content to attract eyeballs. This video has 700,000 long form views. It's him buying a car. Not all of these people are going to be wanting to buy his program, but some of them will. Some of them will have seen this video for the first time. It's their first interaction with Brez. And then they'll see, oh, this guy's fucking interesting. He's buying a car. Holy shit. They might move down to they might find his second channel, which is more middle of funnel, which is more value, authority, content that builds trust, right? So this is like an A to Z course he released It's kind of similar to my course. This you could consider as middle of funnel or even bottom of funnel content, because people will see this and they'll say, holy shit, this guy knows what he's talking about, and then be more likely to want to work with him. And some middle of funnel content can convert. Like someone might see this and say, okay, I want to work with this guy. I want to speed up my process. I want to access all the stuff that he has. But also beyond that, what Brez has, and I got a screenshot from a different client, is like case studies and client results as bottom of funnel content. So long form client interviews where it's you and a client, podcast style, simply discussing, their journey and how you've helped them. And for example, for me, I do this in my content, like for example, interviews with Lorenzo. There's going to be plenty more interviews coming out soon with clients that I have, to nurture people even more and to show that I actually have clients and I do actually get them results. In terms of Instagram, it's a very similar thing. We have top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And this is like a funnel. So obviously more people are going to be coming in through the funnel here. And it's essentially a squeeze where we'll get in a lot of people and then only some of them will convert by taking them down the funnel in terms of the content. One example that I'm going to use here is Jake Ryan. He's essentially a high ticket closing mentor. He has a lot of top of funnel content, and for a very long time he didn't really have the middle of funnel content. But his top of funnel content is more like his story, him buying a Lambo, him going from broke to rich. Then in the middle of funnel content, he has content that nurtures and builds trust and gives value. So he actually explains his business model, which is sales, and gives value on it. And then once again, content that converts is kind of case studies, people seeing, oh, this guy actually has a product, taking them from kind of like problem aware to solution aware. And then also bottom of funnel on Instagram really is just story sequences. So story sequences I'm going to be going into more detail on in the DM funnel section of this. But essentially story sequences look like this in terms of like, I did this, this, and this. We have like a hook, a story, some social proof, and then a CTA. This is one that we run for one of our clients. The main thing that you're going to want to do for your creator with content, you don't have to be an expert in this. Like you can script content for them. And if you are going to be scripting content for your creator, great artist steal. Go to the biggest competitors in your niche, find their outlier YouTube videos, find their outlier reels, use AI to adapt them and write better scripts for your current creator. But the main thing that you're going to have to do in terms of like lead flow and traffic, like getting traffic to the offer, is find the bottleneck. Typically, the bottleneck will be very obvious. If you don't have a lot of people entering the funnel, you have a top of funnel problem. So you're going to need to make more content that attracts eyeballs, that is controversial and gets people into the funnel. If you have a lot of people, but not a lot of buyers or not a lot of people who understand, like there's a lot of unqualified leads, blah, 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 you're going to need more middle of funnel content that nurtures them and educates them. And if you have top of funnel and middle funnel content, you have a lot of leads, they are educated, but you're just not getting anyone booking calls or entering the funnel, then you're missing the bottom of funnel content that actually gets people to convert. Typically, this is like better Instagram story sequences or more Instagram story sequences to convert the traffic that you do have. And so in finding this bottleneck, you're going to be able to help your creator scale with content. Next, ads. I'm not going to cover ads in a crazy amount of detail. I'm going to probably record like a full other YouTube video on the ad campaigns we're running for clients at like 5 to 10x ROAS. But if you want to become a very good growth operator and actually have stability, this is something that I missed a lot on my journey. I didn't have a lot of stability with clients. I was always scared that a client would drop me or a client would stop posting content and their business would go to zero. But once you learn how to run ads, you never face that problem, and offering ads as a service makes you very desirable as a growth operator. First of all, you need to know the ICP, but you also need to know who you're advertising to in terms of the market awareness. So there are 5 stages of awareness in terms of a client buying journey. 1, unaware. 2, problem aware. 3, solution aware. 4, product aware. 5, most aware. Typically, let's use a YouTube automation offer as an example. We can advertise in a few of these different places. Like product aware is like they already kind of know you. They already know that you have something for sale. This is like people who are basically already on a sales call, and most aware people are like people who are basically ready to buy. So we're going to ignore these. We're not really going to advertise to these people. We could do some retargeting ads to people who are product aware. Great. But most aware, you probably won't be able to run ads to these. Typically, we're going to be running ads to some of these stages. For a YouTube automation coaching offer, unaware people are people who are in the 9 to 5. Who don't even know that YouTube automation exists. So for these people, we actually have to bring them through all of these stages. So typically what I say when I work with clients is that we don't actually want to start advertising at this unaware level. You may have seen Iman Gadji run a challenge funnel recently where he is advertising at the unaware level because he is so big. He's trying to capture an entire market. He's educating people that this business opportunity actually exists. You can make money with AI, with a business model. So this is like unaware people. And typically your ad costs are going to be a lot lower in this market. Then we have problem aware people, which are people who, okay, I know that I can do online business, or I know that this business model exists. I know that, YouTube automation exists, but I just don't know how to succeed with it. And so this is like slightly more in market, we should say, more aware. And so your ads to these people will be slightly different. And then also you're going to have solution aware people, which are people who know that they have a problem. So know that YouTube automation is a really great way to make money and leave your 9 to 5, but also know that there's a solution to solving their problem of like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Great. There's this kind of solution on the market for me. So those are kind of the stages of awareness. And with these stages of awareness, you're going to want to adapt your messaging, and we'll go into this in just a second. But first of all, I have to explain how the meta pixel works and how kind of Facebook works in general. Facebook is a $3 trillion company. Their tracking and their data is amazing. When you run an ad campaign, essentially Facebook will be optimizing for the cheapest result based on the data that you give it. So if you're optimizing for lead, or if you're optimizing for booked call at the campaign level, whatever ads you put in it, it will find the leads that will basically give it the cheapest result. And how this works is like, basically Meta, Facebook has a ton of data, has a ton of data. It has a bunch of different buckets. You can imagine it like this. This is how Jeremy Haynes has kind of explained it. It has a bunch of different buckets of kind of types of people that you're going to advertise to. And essentially what the pixel will do, or what like the adverts will be shown to, they'll be shown to people in this bucket. And then if you're not getting any conversions, okay, no, this didn't work, we're going to the next bucket. We'll go into the next bucket. And this is typically when you're advertising with broad. Broad is going to be your best friend when it comes to advertising, just because any interest stack and all of that, it's not going to be better than the meta pixel of a $3 trillion company. So essentially based on the messaging, and messaging, there are two types of messaging. There's spoken messaging and kind of visual messaging. So what's said in the ad and what's seen in the ad. Based on that, Meta will obviously go ahead and show your ad to all of these different lead buckets, and very quickly it'll be able to notice, okay, these people, this type of person is more likely to interact with this ad and get the result that we're looking for, and it will then show it to more of those type of people because it has all the data, and it will get you more of the result that you're optimizing for. So that's kind of how ads work, kind of like a basic level of the pixel. So essentially what you're going to do is, in the messaging of your ad, if you're speaking to an unaware person, you're going to say, hey, did you know that you can use AI in this to make money online? It's going to show it to like a very broad range of people, because a very broad amount of people will be likely to click on that ad. Whereas with a solution aware ad, if what you say in the ad is, hey, if you're struggling with YouTube automation and you're struggling to find a good niche, this is what you need to do. I can help you with this. Watch the free training and book a call. It's gonna, like, less people are gonna be wanting to click on this ad. So it's gonna show it to more people in that market who are interested in that. What you're gonna notice is these type of ads to solution aware and problem aware people are typically gonna have higher costs because you're targeting a more niche demographic, a smaller amount of people, but they're gonna get you better prospects compared to this, where it's more of a spray and pray, where you're advertising very broad, but less qualified prospects, more DQs, but with lower ad costs. So that's kind of like a basic overview. And typically for your ad, like kind of copy and that side of things, if you're targeting unaware people, you're going to go for big perspective shifts, more bold claims, things like that. If people are problem aware, you're going to want to lead with value, because essentially these people know they have a problem, but they just don't know they have a solution. So first you're going to hook them in with the value, and then show them that value should emphasize to them that there is a solution. And for stage 3, people who are solution aware, they know that there's like a solution out there that can help them. You just need to kick them up the arse and give them the push that they need to go ahead and take an action with a direct response. So typically leading with pain, because pain is a bigger mover than pleasure and desire. And also social proof to show that there is a product on the market that can help them with a solution that they are aware that they need, if that makes sense. In terms of launching ad campaigns and messaging and creative testing, you need a lot of volume. With the new Andromeda update, you need to be testing a lot of creatives and creative testing. It's not like you can just have one ad and then stitch a bunch of different hooks on it anymore. You need to be testing unique ads, aiming for at least 20 new creatives per month. Also, something that we're running across clients, I'm going to open up the ad manager for this soon, is testing different awareness levels. So for example, testing problem aware people and solution aware people, testing in-market messaging and testing kind of more broad messaging to kind of see, because this offer we're running basically from complete scratch with ads. We want to see whether it's more profitable for us to run a webinar towards people who are already doing Amazon wholesale, or to people who are essentially people who haven't heard of Amazon wholesale, or people who are less aware, essentially. So we're separating them into two different ad sets with the statics, and obviously we have video ads as well. In terms of our ad framework for hooks, and in terms of having the right messaging, you want to always be calling out your ideal customer. So this is for example, in the YouTube automation business model, it's like for the person who's sick of trading time for money in their 9 to 5 and wants to make passive income on YouTube, whatever that may be. So basically signaling who the ad is for. And you especially in the hook, the messaging is who it's going to, the messaging dictates who the ad is going to be shown to. So in your messaging and in your hook and everything, you only want to include things that appeal to the context of qualified customers. Don't mention anything about brokenness. Think about your rich clients, people who are going to be paying in full for the offer, and speak to them. So people who are working high paying jobs for, this is kind of for the YouTube automation offer, people who want to invest in stocks, people who want to supplement an already high income, people who are sick of an unscalable income, and even people who have bought courses before and didn't get results, because that is an intention. That is showing that these people are willing to invest in themselves, and therefore we can sell them again on a solution that will actually get them results. And so, for example, a hook that you might write based on this is if you've built a 6-figure career, but you feel like you're building out someone else's dream, Faceless YouTube might be the answer you're looking for, the answer to building your own dream. This type of hook compared to, hey, do you want to make 10K a month with YouTube, is way different. This is going to get a higher CPM. It's going to cost more, but it's going to get you way more qualified leads in the context of advertising. Also, another thing, I'm going to show you some of the ad campaigns soon, but you should look at the meta ad library. Once again, great artists, good artists copy, great artists steal. Study your competitors' ads. Ads that have been active a long time are normally profitable because they've been running a long time. So be sure to look at those and kind of study what I've told you here in terms of the messaging and see how you can replicate it for yourself. And also remember, this is something that I struggled with for a long time before I started buying media and before we started offering ads as a service to clients, is that clicking the buttons in Facebook and doing the pixel conditioning and all of that is the easy part. When we launch ad campaigns, for anyone who has a question, how do I launch an ad campaign? We typically put all of the ads in the same ad set, unless we're testing different messaging demographics. We'll put all of the ads in the same ad set. 1 to 3 of the ads with Andromeda will basically perform and take up all of the spend, because they're the ones that are the best ads that Facebook is realizing, okay, these are working the best and getting you the most results. And then based on that, you can take ads out, add more ads in, and run your numbers from there. Now, just to show you inside of the ads manager for one of our clients on a recent webinar campaign how we're doing this, this is an Amazon offer where we're literally getting $4.50 cost per lead for webinar registrations. We have 2 different ad sets because we're still testing the less aware and the more aware audiences. Once we've kind of dialed in, okay, which people are we're going to target, we're going to just chuck everything into one ad set, of course. So essentially, you're going to obviously have your campaign set up for lead optimization, but then you're going to chuck all of the ads into one ad set. You're going to be able to see all the data. And just to show you what I mean by a few of the ads getting all the spend, essentially, as you can see here, this one ad, single pallet profit, is just a killer ad. It's clearly just an insanely good ad. 4.5% click-through rate, a 77-cent cost per click, getting us $4 cost per lead at a 1% result rate is fucking insane. 1% of people who see this ad, 1.27% of people who see this ad are going to be opting into our webinar. So this ad is clearly a really, really good performer. And then same inside of this ad set, where we have 1 to 2 ads, this one has 18 leads, this one has 141 leads, getting basically all the spend because they're the best performers. So that's typically what's going to happen. And then based on that, you can make improvements, add more ads, take ads out if although they're performing well, they're actually not getting you the qualified prospects that you want. Adapting from there. So that's kind of a basic overview ads. Like I said, I'm going to be recording a lot more content on ads and the campaigns that we're running for clients very soon, but that is kind of just a basic overview of how to run ads for your clients. Okay, so now we've landed a client, we've done the market research, we've got the offer, we've got traffic coming in, we've solved the bottlenecks there, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, or paid. Now, before leads get onto a sales call and we can convert them with a closer and a setter, we need a way to get all of this traffic onto a sales call. Typically, there are 4 types of funnels you can run, and 4 types of funnels I run as a growth operator across all of my clients, that being VSL funnel, webinar funnel, free community funnel, and DM funnel. There are a few different variations that, if you're doing a launch, it might look a little bit different, but these are the main funnels, and I'm going to be breaking down exactly the best practices for all of them, giving you specific prompts to write VSLs, go through an entire webinar process, all of that stuff right now. So first of all, a VSL funnel. This kind of is a standard funnel across any offer with good, decent organic traffic coming from YouTube, coming from Instagram. And essentially leads get routed through an application. They watch a video sales letter, and there's pretty much a very good frame when it comes to getting on sales calls because these leads are applying to work with you. When it comes to the funnel itself, you want a headline, a sub-headline, and a VSL, of course. Now, here are some prompts to write a VSL. What I like to do is use the AI documents that I have made previously, use this prompt here to essentially give AI context on what we're doing. We're writing a VSL, it's 10 minutes long, it's for the main organic funnel. This is the headline we're going for. This is the sub-headline we're going for. Here, like, you need to use all of the details from these docs. And then I use this prompt to say, fill in this kind of secondary prompt. So use this prompt to fill in this prompt. And then with this prompt, it will essentially output an amazing VSL. And of course, you're going to want to go in, use some copywriting skills and edit it and make it sound human, make it sound better across the board. But essentially, you're going to use this prompt to make this prompt, and you're going to have an amazing VSL written for you. And in terms of the VSL framework that I use across the board, across all of my clients, obviously, you're going to start off with a hook, could be any sort of hook. Then I like to go straight into the pain. Similar to a webinar, which we're going to get into, people are more motivated to act away from pain rather than towards pleasure. So we have to wake our leads up from the nightmare that they're in, because they're clicking on the video and they're watching the VSL for a reason, before selling them the dream and selling them on how we can help. Then, of course, we position the opportunity and the authority of the offer owner, and then use a bunch of social proof to show them kind of the dream situation, and then show them kind of the system preview, answer any, common questions or common objections, urgency, and CTA. That's kind of the framework we use across all VSLs. And essentially what you also want to do is find 10 out of 10 VSLs on YouTube. Whenever you see a funnel, like whenever you're doing like research into finding creators or finding people who you want to reach out to, you're going to want to like look through, find the VSLs that are winning, look through ads, look through creators that you know are absolutely printing, take their VSL transcripts and essentially use AI to adapt them to your offer. And you can do this with these prompts as well. On that same landing page, you're going to want to have an application, and you can embed the type form inside of the application. This is what the type form looks like for our client Leo here. On this page, we also have a bunch of client wins, of course. And essentially the application, first of all, we capture their details. Then we want to get like their current situation. So where are they at in their journey? What's their current occupation and current monthly income? Then we want to go into desired situation. So, what is your biggest goal with Facebook YouTube? And also we need a qualification question, which is basically, this is like the only important question. Of course, these details are really helpful, and we do want a lot of friction on this funnel. This funnel has more friction, and by friction, I mean it is harder for leads to book a call. This is something that's really important to understand. If you have a lot of leads and a lot of them are unqualified, you want to add more friction to make it more difficult for leads to book a call, because you only want your closer to be taking qualified calls. But if you don't have a lot of leads, typically you might have a lot less friction than this. But essentially with this question, we either route them to this page, which is like a book a call page with the Calendly embedded in the type form. This is really important. They can only really finish the type form by booking a call. And then anyone who says they have less than 1K, we just send them to the free community, and a setter will dial them just to confirm and see if there's actually any way that we can help them. And essentially, the email and the phone number will auto fill in the Calendly, and they can go ahead and book in a call after this Typeform application embedded on that landing page. Now, we also send an email flow. This is very important for VSL or application funnels, having custom email flows to all of the leads whose details we capture but don't book. So for example, if someone comes through here, even if they don't have money, even if they do have money, if they hit this page and we capture them with a partial submit and they don't book in a call, we will send them this email sequence, which is essentially like, one last step, make sure to book in a call. Case study plus objection handle, cost of inaction, case study plus objection handle, success versus no success case study, free value, and then like scarcity and urgency, just to make sure that they book in a call, like, because an application is a sign of intent. So you want to be keeping getting as many of those people on calls as possible. And of course, we have a setter calling instantly, whether they book in a call or whether they don't book in a call, to try and get them booked in or triage them if they are already booked in. And yeah, this sequence is done inside of Close CRM. I'm going to go into some automation stuff on the back end soon. And this automation sequence pauses as soon as a lead is booked in. So that's kind of a VSL funnel. This is pretty standard. You want to set this up across all of your offers. Typically with headlines, there's a lot of things you can do with headlines. Typically, like a very standard thing that you can do that you can't really go wrong with is like discover the, either unique mechanism here or discover the framework, the system, making ICP desired outcome with unique mechanism is like ICP desired outcome, unique mechanism without common pain points. So you can see without the common pain points or without common hurdles or, things that like, you don't have to have experience. You don't have to know how to edit to actually do this. And then another funnel that of course we run alongside VSL funnels. Bear in mind, like there are clients that we run literally every single one of these funnels simultaneously. It basically, what it does is it gives your leads, the offers leads, different ways to convert. So some people, like, they need more trust built, and that's why a webinar works amazing for them. Some people, they just want to come through and watch a VSL at their own place. Some people need a conversation, and some people need a lot more free value up front. So yeah, that's why we run multiple funnels, and that's why it is imperative that you have all of these in your arsenal, because I know operators who are making more than me, who make more money than me because they have great clients and stuff, organic clients with a lot of lead flow, and they still know how to do this sort of stuff. They don't know how to run a really good free community funnel. They don't know how to dial in a sales team. So it's very, very important that as an operator, you know what you're doing so that you have more confidence on your sales calls, because that's a huge thing. A lot of licensing clients I work with, they say, I'm just so much more confident in my outreach and my sales calls because I actually know how to do things and how to fulfill. Back to webinars though. This is by far my favorite funnel that works across every single offer with every type of audience. It's an amazing funnel to start running when you want to start implementing cold traffic to an offer. It's higher leverage for the offer owner because you're selling one to many. So you're selling to a room full of people rather than having to do one-to-one sales calls the whole time. And you build a crazy level of trust and nurturing because the webinar is essentially like an hour or 2 hours of live free value. So how do you do a webinar and how do you run a webinar funnel? So when you launch, you essentially have to have a registration page. Typically on a registration page, it's going to be similar to the VSL funnel run, but it's going to be a lot of stuff on the live event. So you're going to have a headline, a sub-headline, obviously like timers and dates and stuff. Then you're going to have a pop-up, obviously, that captures the lead details, so name, first name, last name, email, and phone number. And then on this same landing page, you're going to want to have a lead magnet. You're going to want to have case studies. And once again, just to show you one that we're running right now for a client, we have like the headline, sub-headline. There's going to be a video here. There should be a video here. Then exactly what they're going to learn, lead magnet, meet their host, and then obviously more case studies and stuff. I don't know why this isn't loading either. But yeah, so that's kind of what you want your landing page to look like. And once again, you can go with a similar headline. There's a lot of experimenting you can do with the headline. I'm not an amazing copywriter. I think I can write copy to a high level, but I'm not going to spend this whole, whole video going over the intricacies of copywriting. A very solid headline across the board is like how to achieve this outcome with unique mechanism without XYZ pain point, or like live masterclass on how I achieved X outcome with X mechanism without XYZ common pain point. And what we do across our clients, as you can see here, is that when we click on the register button, it has this pop-up. We build all of our landing pages with Lovable. I'm going to get into that in a second. But essentially, what you can do here with this pop-up is capture all of these lead details. And instead of having like a webinar jam form, which is a software we use to run a webinar, we capture their details with a webhook and then register them to the webinar manually. And then we can actually create a Google Sheet where we can see all of the UTM data, all of the data of all of the leads inside of a Google Sheet, which makes things a whole lot easier. After you register for a webinar, we then send the leads to a thank you page with a thank you page VSL, instructions on how to get their lead magnet by joining a WhatsApp group, add the event to their calendar, and then make sure they have the invite here in their email. So that's how you want to launch in terms of like the landing pages. Once again, I have a full webinar A to Z guide, so I'm going to be going through this quite quickly. If you want to learn how to run webinars specifically, I literally have a full A to Z guide on it. In terms of getting leads to show up, you're going to have to run an email and SMS sequence that handle common objections, remove doubts and limiting beliefs, and shows case studies and proof, as well as remind the leads of the webinar and how to show up. This is our email flow that we use across clients and our SMS flow that we use before webinars. So this is only to people who have signed up to webinars. We typically run this inside of GHL, and I'm going to be walking through kind of how to use GHL, how to set up GHL in the tech section of the video. Then we also have a WhatsApp group for all webinar leads. This is where we keep the lead magnet. And inside of this, we do polls. We drop the calendar link. We do case study videos. We send links to valuable YouTube videos. We put the lead magnet in there. We send voice notes and videos from the offer owner very frequently. And after the webinar, we can follow up with them inside of the WhatsApp group. This is just to nurture people, give them a ton of indoctrination, and make sure that they show up to the webinar ready to convert, essentially. And then also what you can do with ads with a webinar, if you can also obviously run ads to the registration. We kind of covered that a little bit. But with ads, you can also run hammer them ads, which are essentially no CTA ads, just pure value, answering common questions, building trust to the leads that sign up in a custom audience to essentially replicate the organic sales process, which is something we're doing across all clients. The most important part of a webinar is the presentation. So this is the framework that we use across all of our clients. This isn't mine. This is Jason Fladlian's 14-step webinar framework. To give you a brief overview first, you kind of have 3 stages to a webinar. The first being the intro, then being the actual training, the value, and then also the pitch. Typically, your intro is going to be about 15 minutes long. Your value will be around 45 to an hour long. And then you'll pitch it around 1 hour to 1 hour, 15 minutes into the webinar. And this will take you to the end of the webinar. It might take 20, 30 minutes after you have a Q&A and all of that. But for your webinar framework, this is what you need to do. You need to have a good presentation. It has to be built out. Some of our webinar slides you'll see on the full webinar guide, if you do want to watch that, are 300 plus slides long. You need to start, obviously, your webinar with a hook. So you need an introduction that grabs your audience's attention immediately and creates pattern interrupt to what they were expecting. Then, like in the VSL, we want to go into the pain points that the audience that they're facing, like why are they actually showing up? Probably because they're in some sort of pain, and we want to emphasize that. So kind of put them in the nightmare before you sell them the dream, like I say. Then you're going to want to tease about the mechanism. So this is kind of like the training, the 3 pillars of training that they're going to learn from the webinar, like the promised outcome that you are delivering to them for showing up to the webinar. Based on that, you can kind of tease what they're going to learn, and then obviously future pace them about the positives of the actual outcomes of applying what they'll learn. Then positioning why the offer owner or why you are uniquely able to help these people, and then shifting their paradigm once again with a belief shifting statement right before the training starts. What we run for our webinars is 3 training pillars. So we have 3 different mechanisms, and for each mechanism, we go over what it is, what happens without it, why it matters, how to implement it, an example of success, and then getting their commitment that they can see how implementing the training, the mechanism, or whatever it is going to be useful for them when they take action. Mechanisms are like probably the most important part of the webinar. You need your training and your value to be good in the webinar for people to want to work with you. This is like the number 1 reason why webinars fails is just because the training and the value isn't good enough. Then we get into like the transition to the pitch. So all of this was kind of like the intro above here. This is the training. This is actually probably the longest part of the webinar. And then below this is the pitch, where we get their commitment once again, first of all. So making sure the leads feel like they're in a better position now to achieve their dream outcome. They know that they say, yes, this was valuable, and we're going to start now, we're going to take action now. And as you transition, you build the gap. You don't want to do a bait and switch, but you say, you can do this yourself, but it will take a lot of time, a lot of effort. There is an option where we speed up the process, where we work together to make sure that you succeed even quicker, and we have a guarantee, blah, blah, blah. Then what you want to do is keeping this part short. You just want to show the core deliverables of the offer, which would be community, roadmap, group calls, just the core deliverables. Then you want to price drop with this sequence, which is what it's worth to you, what others have gained, what others charge, what you normally charge, and then the special offer. So typically on high ticket webinars where we're selling an offer that is $2,000 plus, we won't price drop on the webinar. What we will do is we'll say, you need 4 figures to invest in this. This isn't for everyone, but for everyone who does join off the back of this webinar, we're doing a special offer. We're doing like a $1,000 discount, blah, blah, blah. And then you do your first CTA to take the action. So typically we actually run these webinars to back to book a call. If you're doing a direct checkout, you obviously CTA them to check out. So this will be the first CTA. Then you're going to go through bonuses, and these bonuses should be even more valuable than the core offer itself. These are bonuses. They can actually be part of the normal offer, but it should be done for you things, extra group calls, extra one-on-one calls, lead magnets, access to a freelance support, whatever that may be. They should be even more valuable or as valuable as the core offer. Then you do another CTA. Then you go into scarcity about the limited spots and the bonuses and etc. to get people to act there and then. So once again, another CTA. Then you go into your guarantee or your worst case scenario, explain the offer guarantee, another CTA to take the action. And then you'll be going through a Q&A where essentially you open up the chat to all of the people watching the webinar, where you handle objections and questions live, always pushing them back to the offer and how it will help them solve their problem, ending with a final close. Now, I haven't gone over the tech side of the webinar because it would just take too long, and I have a full video on it, like I said. But we host all webinars through Webinar Jam, and with Zapier, you can essentially link everything that you need up in terms of the back end and the tech. After webinar, the job's only half done though, because you do need a very dialed in follow-up process. So what we do is we run replay sequences for all of our webinars, where we have this separate landing page where you have your same headline and then a sub headline which says, watch the full session and then claim the special offer down below, where we have the full replay. We make it unskippable. And then we have the type form or the application where they can go ahead and book in a call after watching the replay. If it's a direct checkout webinar, we typically like to still send them to a call, even after the replay, just because they have a higher conversion on a call rather than just a checkout on a random replay page, right? If that makes sense. Also, we send emails, 3 different email sequences to firstly attended and didn't show. So we separate those in GHL. We add a tag for everyone who attends. They get a different email sequence, which is like, okay, booking a call, like straight after the webinar. Then the next day we send them one about the replay. We send another one about the replay, and then a last chance CTA like 4 days after the webinar. And if they didn't show, like after the webinar, we say replays available. These are the bonuses that were on the offer. And this is like a last chance CTA a few days after some more nurturing emails. And if people apply, so typically after a webinar, we'll send people through a type form and then to a Calendly. And if people apply and they are actually disqualified from the type form, we actually send them to a low ticket offer page. And we also have setters, of course, phoning them up. And the entire sales team, by the way, is dialed for a webinar. So essentially, before I get into the WhatsApp group, where we essentially do the same thing as here, we send CTAs to replay, we send CTAs to apply, we give FOMO and we do client results and stuff. The setters, what they're going to do is they're going to be calling all of the booked calls and triaging them, making sure they're qualified and getting them off the calendar if they aren't. They're then going to be dialing all of the all of the applicants who didn't book in a call, then all of the attendees. And what we do is we export the attendee CSV from Webinar Jam. We put it into a Google Sheet, and then I filter it by time in the live room. So the leads, setters actually call every single lead who stayed in the room longest, because they're going to be the warmest. They call them from top to bottom to see if we can get them booked on a call as well. And then obviously we have the closing team closing all of the deals on the back end. And these closing calls are basically laydowns from webinars. So that's really, really cool. And I'll get into kind of the sales process that we run across clients in just a second. Then free community funnel. The free community funnel is amazing for offers with less traffic, where you need to make the most of every single lead. They work very well from these micro niche YouTube channels, and they're especially good for skeptical audiences and niches where free value and connection is needed up front. Typically, like niches that I see with this are trading. There's a lot of trading stuff out there, and typically people want to get free value before they buy something if it's a high ticket, especially, right? And this is really amazing if the creator already has some sort of free community, some sort of Discord community, some sort of low ticket even. This is really good to implement. And how you're going to run the free community funnel is a sign up page, which is like, blah, 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 I'm opening a free community. You're going to have essentially like a webhook. So the same kind of thing as with the webinar registration, where essentially you capture name, email, Instagram, and phone number, where they join the free community. And then after they join, obviously they're going to be sent a huge email flow, and we'll have people calling them up because we get their phone number, but they're going to be sent to the kind of similar VSL page with the same like VSL, where it's like, whilst your free community access is coming, watch this quick video regarding how we're helping people without X, Y, and Z. And then we have the same type form leading to a Calendly underneath. So basically sending them back to the VSL page. Now, if they don't book in here, obviously we're sending them email, first of all, with a link to join the community, then a couple of value emails, and then CTA, making sure they book in a call. We also have the setter phoning every single Discord opt-in lead, and then also SMSing as the creator to qualify the lead and potentially book them onto a call if they are qualified. And also we message them on Instagram too, because we capture their Instagram handle. And then last thing is that even if they're not ready to book on a call now, or we can't get in touch with them, Inside of the Discord, they're going to be obviously getting free group calls. They're going to be getting lead magnets inside of there, some sort of free course in there. They're going to be able to answer questions and get value, which is the main thing that the Discord offers. And then we occasionally will do CTAs inside of the Discord, rerouting them back to Calendly where they can book in a call and we can close them. And the best thing about this funnel is that every single lead is accounted for, so you can make sure you're making the most of every single one. And free communities essentially like congregate everyone, because like no one's going to say no to something free where there's a community where they can get value, right? Then finally, we have a DM funnel. Typically, every offer will be running a DM funnel in some sort of way, because there'll always be like, you know, the Instagram of the offer owner getting Instagram messages. I typically wouldn't recommend running a DM funnel at a very big level at all, like not at all. I wouldn't run a DM funnel for, you know, you're not really going to be crossing 200K a month with only a DM funnel typically. But this is really good for audiences where there is a lot of motion on Instagram and not a lot elsewhere, not a lot of YouTube presence yet. A DM funnel can work really well. Typically, you can have like an IG bio CTA. I don't really like to do this. I prefer to convert people through Instagram story sequences. And in terms of our Instagram story sequence framework, I'll get into that in just a second. But first of all, why should you do an Instagram story sequence? They are the best way, and like this is why I say I prefer it to like the IG bio sequence. Instagram stories are by far the best mechanism to convert passive viewers of an Instagram profile, because they give people a reason to take action whilst viewing your stories. In terms of when you should run Instagram story sequences, my framework is like, don't do CTAs all the time. You need to give as much value as possible, because if you're that coach who just does, you know, 5 slots left, if you keep just posting on your creator's Instagram story, 5 slots left, CTA, people are just going to assume that that's what's going to be posted, and they won't actually, you know, consume the stories. And it's just like, this is the same every time. People are just going to stop watching the stories, and that's not going to be good. So in terms of the framework for stories, typically you can go for like just, you know, a hook and a story and some value and some social proof without a CTA. But when you do a CTA, you'll add that onto the end. And essentially your CTA can either be to like a webinar or a VSL, to a certain lead magnet. So you can, and I'm going to get into lead magnets in just a second and what they are and how they work. Or you can CTA just to DM me, where a setter will take the conversation and book them in. And here you can see some examples of webinar story sequences that we run for clients. If you want to screenshot them, obviously just let me know. These aren't like crazy. This is just, you know, getting people to sign up to a webinar and that sort of thing. These are some like follow-up sequences that we run across like certain clients. I'm not going to leak all the source of story sequences, but they are pretty easy to run. Just if you have a decent foundation of marketing, and you can use AI, you can use examples of other story sequences with the AI docs that you have to generate really good story sequences. But the main thing to understand is that you shouldn't be giving, you know, you shouldn't be only doing CTAs, you should be giving a lot of value. And another really cool thing that you can be doing with story sequences is doing Q&A objection handling sequences, is what I call them. Because essentially you can put, you know, an ask me a question poll on an Instagram creator story or your creator story, and you can then like ask questions yourself and essentially handle all these common questions and objections on the offer itself. Before, you know, questions that leads might have that will actually help them convert, and then end this sequence with a CTA. That's an amazing way to convert a lot of leads as well. Also, lead magnets. So as you can see, you can just CTA to a lead magnet. This is a great way to like indirectly get leads through the door without being very salesy and very direct. So essentially your final webinar slide will be like, you know, DM me live and I'll send over this like lead magnet completely for free. And essentially with lead magnets, number one thing is that they solve a problem, change a perspective, give a lot of value, and lead to another problem. So for example, in the YouTube automation niche, the lead magnet that we run is like a 6-figure niche list, because niche is a huge problem that people face. We change their perspective on niches inside of the lead magnet, which in turn gives them a lot of value, and it leads to another problem of like, okay, once I've got a niche, I actually need to, you know, go viral on YouTube and make good content. And so lead magnets, we run, you know, the story sequences to them, and you can even run them inside of Reels and, you know, create many chat automations to send people to them. But essentially what happens with the lead magnets is, after the lead magnet is sent with a ManyChat automation, super easy to set up, the setter will then take that conversation, take the lead, and go ahead and look to book them in for a call. And even YouTube videos can be used as lead magnets. So for example, when you upload, like for example, if I was going to upload this free course, I'd make an Instagram story sequence and then say, DM me if you want early access to this like free course. And then anyone who does DM me, I send them access. And that then, like, even DMing me is like them putting their hand up to say like, oh, I might be interested in what you offer, so I can have a conversation with them on Instagram and see if they potentially want to work with me. Also, these lead magnets, these images are made with Google Gemini, Nano Banana. How you can make them is essentially take a screenshot of this and then say, hey, can you make this for this niche with this logo, with this, blah, blah, blah. Very, very easy. And then what we use to create lead magnets is those AI documents and AI context that we mentioned here. We upload that to a software called Notebook LM. It's by Google, by Gemini. And essentially, we ask it, based on all the knowledge of the offer, of all of this stuff, please can you make a document, or please can you give me ideas for a lead magnet, high converting lead magnet. Then you pick one, and then you ask it to create a detailed, informative lead magnet as a presentation. And what's going to come out is like literally, I don't know why the background is bugging, it's loading, but an amazing, 15-page lead magnet that gives a lot of value, created entirely by AI. And this is going to save you, a lot of time. So yeah, use Notebook LM for lead magnets is really, really good. And you should be taking advantage of AI. Like, I could call this AI growth operating because we use AI so much, but realistically, you should be using AI in your day-to-day. Anyway, now, all of this stuff essentially helps, leads get onto sales calls. But once a lead does book in a call, and once we've set up the Calendly, what we need to do is have a post-booking page. Because essentially, if you book someone on a call, there's a high chance they're going to forget, they're not going to, show up. And so if you want to maintain a good show rate with your webinars, you need a page like this, where essentially you have a headline, which is, congratulations, you've taken your first step towards doing X, Y, Z. You need to follow these instructions before your call. And in this kind of post-call VSL, we nurture them further on the business model, what to expect on the call, and make sure that they accept the calendar invite on their Google Calendar so that they, are attending the event and we can confirm them. Then after that, in the step 2 section, we have breakout videos. And these are typically videos that are 60 to 90 seconds long on all of the common questions and all of the common objections on the offer, so that people can click on these and go through and see, okay, which one of these do I need answering? Because why do leads no show to a call? Typically, it's because they don't have common questions, or they have an objection in the back of their mind. They're like, oh, I can't do this because of this reason. Oh, I can't do this because it's going to take too much time. Whereas if they see this video, that can actually be handled, and they're more likely to show up to the call. And then at the bottom of the page, you're going to have more client results and more testimonials as well. So that's the post-booking page. And then inside of Calendly, which you'll use to obviously set up the calendar event, what you're going to have is all of the emails. So 36 hours before, you're going to have an email, 24 hours before, to remind people of the webinar. And this is my exact workflow. So you can literally screenshot this and use AI to write some copy based on what you see here, where we have case studies, where we have different objections, common mistakes, sell them on the vehicle, drop the offer owner story. We also do SMS reminders inside of there, just to make sure, the leads show up to 80, 70, 80+% of the time to their sales calls. In terms of copywriting, I haven't really covered it too much, like I said, just because I don't want this to be a full copywriting guide. There's many, many better people that you can use to learn copywriting on YouTube. KJ Rainey is an example. And as a growth operator, you have to be multifaceted and learn these skills individually. But for copywriting, what I like to do is find good copy by funnel hacking other people, then using their copy as a basis for AI. AI then adapts that copy to my offer and my creator. And I also use a website called Prompt Cowboy to improve my prompts and commands when asking for good copy. So that's kind of my, how I do copy. And of course I have a good understanding of copy. And I write a lot of copy myself, but when I'm writing emails, for example, I have a whole bank of emails that I just take from. And that's really useful and something we have inside of licensing. Like, all of the copy that we've ever written for clients is just there for you to take and adapt to your own offers, and it's proven and it's working. So yeah, that's funnels. You should have some leads, booking calls, and showing up to calls. Now, when you do set up funnels and when you do set up all of this, you are going to need a lot of tech involved. You're going to be like, okay, how do I set up a ManyChat automation? How do I set up a funnel and a Calendly and a webinar system? So we're going to get into that in just a second. But before that, all of the landing pages that I showed you, all of the landing pages that I use across clients are built with an AI software called Lovable. It's a vibe coder. If you want a full guide on how to use Lovable and how to build landing pages cool for your clients, DM me Lovable on Instagram and I'll send you it over. This is a lead magnet, as they say. But I might drop a full video on YouTube for it. But yeah, Lovable's fucking insane. So yeah, do that if you want access to those templates or access to how I create the templates. Then tech. So when you're running a big offer, you're going to want to have a communication system, whether that be on Slack or whether that be on Discord. And let me just show you one of the Discords that we have for one of our clients at the moment. So this is the Amazon offer that I was showing you in just a second. Essentially, we have payment channels for successful payments. You can see some of the payments that we're closing for this client across the board here. We have a channel for failed payments. We have some SOBs in the channels, a daily sales channel, a booked calls channel, a call outcome channel, EOD form channels, and then some other assets that we need for the offer. And typically, when you set up Slack or Discord, the channels that I've shown here for a Slack across another client are really the only thing that you need in the beginning. So you want to have all of these channels and have automations that I'll show you how to set up on cancelled calls, on booked calls, and all of that business. I'm going to now be running you through some kind of setups for Typeform, Calendly, ManyChat, and all of that just to cover it because I realized, okay, I didn't cover it and it's easier to show it on the screen. So essentially, when you set up Typeform, it really just depends on the funnel itself. So if you're running a webinar, our webinar Typeforms are typically a lot shorter if they go into book a call. Typeform is just super, super customizable, and you can essentially do it based on the amount of friction that you want inside of the funnel itself. So for example, this is the VSL funnel that we're going to be running. Right now, alternatively to the screenshots that I showed you, we're running 3 current situation questions, which is like, where are you right now? What's your goal? And what's the biggest thing you need help with? Then we get their name and email. And the reason we do it like this is because essentially, I'm just going to change this here. Essentially, it gives people, answer some easy fucking questions where it's just click the box and then give us your contact info, which is where some people can often drop off. Then we ask for capital, collect the partial submit, which is this thing. So it sends the data, and then making sure they're open to investing in getting started. You'll now be prompted to book a call. Great, book a call. And how the workflow looks. So after you set this up, you just connect your Calendly, set up Calendly, you click connect, it will ask you to connect it. These questions, super, super easy. There's not too much to say. Once you get into Typeform, you'll see how it works. The workflow is kind of the only tricky thing. So essentially, we'll get into UTMs in just a moment, but you want to have your split on the workflow. So essentially, only qualified leads can book in. You're going to set up here at question, whatever question it is. For the capital question, if the answer is less than the budget you don't want to book, you go to a different ending page. And if they actually go through and do book in, you're going to send them to your post-booking page, which I showed how to do in the funnel section, like your post-booking page with a video, with the breakout videos, which answer common questions, and then your more testimonials and stuff. So that's essentially that. And then in terms of embedding it, when you want to embed it into your landing page, you're just going to head over to, actually first we need to publish it, don't we? Actually, we need to set up Calendly first. So we haven't done this for this client, but you set up Calendly, and when you publish it, and you will see it like a thing that says, embed integrations. You'll be able to embed it into your web page with some inline code. Super, super easy. No problem at all. When it comes to Calendly, this is for another client. We have 2 different Calendly events, or 3 different Calendly events, one for the webinar and one just for normal calls. When you set up Calendly, if you have multiple closers on your closing team, you need a round robin Calendly event. Very important. Then we like to do 45-minute duration. We have 2 hosts or 2 closers on the calendar. You add them here in the round robin pool, and you can have a priority on the calendar essentially based on who you want to get more calls. You then have to set the location, make sure you do this, if not there'll be no location on the booking, and there'll be nowhere for the lead to show up to the call. And then availability, your closers will be able to set their availability. We recommend doing calendar sync, so sync their availability to their calendars so they can just block out on the calendar. And essentially what we do for the offer is we make sure that that I can see the entire closers' calendars and all of that sort of things, so that it's very easy. So it's very easy for the setters to see it, so that all the calendars are synced. And when they block off time, like I can block off time here on their calendars very, very easily. Then for the description, just have a little description. Booking page options, I do 60 minutes every 60 minutes. So 45 minutes calls with 60-minute increments and a 15-minute buffer after the event. Then obviously you're going to have your questions on the Calendly. So, you might want to reconfirm the budget, make sure that they know they're going to show up to the call. Then on question 4, we say, what is your phone number? You have to enter it twice to confirm. The reason we do this is because there's an automatic question underneath that on the actual booking link, which is like, enter your phone number again for the SMS workflows. So those workflows that I showed you in terms of setting those up, you do this inside of, as you can see here, you do this inside of Calendly. You head to the workflow section, you can make them super, super easy, and then you add them to the event. And you can actually, so it's just so you don't have to do it every time, right? So you add them as workflows, and then you just add them to the calendar event. And then you redirect them obviously to the confirmation page that you want to do, save that. pretty much done. Very, very easy. So you can link up Calendly and Typeform. In terms of how ManyChat looks, it's very, very easy. So for example, let's say we want to send, if someone sends us replay, we want to just send them a specific message. Essentially what you can do is the trigger will be user comments on your post or reel, user replies to your story, or user sends a message with that keyword. You'll then put the next trigger as Instagram send message, and you'll send whatever message you want to send. You can just link it. For this one, it's like access to the replay page of a webinar. So essentially we first want to confirm that they want access to the webinar replay. Click yes, and I'll send over the link. And then we send them to the replay page too, with a message saying they can apply for the masterclass bonuses and discount, all of that sort of thing. So that's how you set up ManyChat automations. Very, very easy. Shouldn't be any issues there. Also, next thing, moving backwards in regards to tech, Zapier is going to be your absolute best friend. We're going to go through some quick zaps on what you need to set up. So just to go over some basic ones of what we've got here. In terms of the Calendly one that goes into the booked call channel, essentially you're going to have the trigger as invitee created. Then you're going to add them to your CRM. So with Close CRM, I'm going to get into this in just a second. With Close CRM, you're going to go find lead, update lead, and create an opportunity with the time of the call there. The reason you go find lead and update lead is because first, if that lead's already in your CRM, you're going to have to obviously find them and then update them. And if they're not in your CRM, then it will create the lead. So just to show you what that looks like is you'll find the lead by their email, invitee email, and then you'll be able to create close lead if it doesn't exist yet, where you input their name, email, and phone number, just in case the lead just suddenly randomly books in. You still obviously need them in your CRM. In the update lead one is where we give them the status of booked call. So as you can see here, we just give them booked call status, and I think that's it. And also update the last touch source. And then obviously we create the opportunity. This Python and date and time, you don't need this. This is just formatting, just so it looks nice inside of Slack. And then we send a message to either Discord or Slack with the details of the booked call. As you can see here in the configuration, we have name, email, phone number, call time, budget, so some of the questions from the Calendly, the closer, the UTM source, medium content, and all that stuff, which we're going to get into in just a second. So that's kind of the booked call automation that you need. Then in terms of other automation setups, your Typeforms app doesn't need to look as complicated as this. You're going to use a trigger of new Typeform, find lead, and then update lead with all the Typeform information before you send a message to Slack. And this is what that looks like inside of our Slack channel, where we also have the UTM sources visible. And UTM sources are super, super important when it comes to tracking your data inside of your funnel. If you're just starting out as an operator, it may not be as important, but for us to use the dashboard that I'm going to show you in a second regarding tracking, it's very, very important. So essentially all of the links where people can enter the funnel, we can see basically where they came in through YouTube. Was it the VSL funnel? Was it the webinar funnel? And double down on that specific content and see it in our data. So essentially we can see they came from YouTube as the source. The medium was a video description. The content was this specific video. This is a code for the video. And the campaign was the VSL funnel. And so we can see that through the zaps and how we've got them set up here. Then for the payment automation, you just have like a payment succeeded and then a Slack channel message, same with payment failed. Webinar Typeform follows something very similar to this one. And then there are a few like automations here and there that we use in terms of our CRM, which I'll get into, but that's pretty much it. In terms of CRM, you have two options. You have Close CRM, which is this one, or you have GHL. So just going over how you want to set up your CRM. If you're using Close, obviously you're going to have your CRM. The main things you need to understand, first of all, are regarding custom fields and statuses and pipelines. So custom fields are essentially like labels you can assign to certain people. So all of our Typeform answers are custom fields where inside of that Zapier automation I showed you, you can assign all of that data as information in the custom fields. We also have custom fields for all of our UTMs, so the source, medium, campaign, and content. So we can see that in the CRM. And then we also have like a webinar, so which webinar they've watched, if they've watched a webinar, and the setter and the closer assigned to them as custom fields. We also have statuses and pipelines. So this is how we kind of organize things. Not many people do it like this. Typically, you don't want to do it like this. So we just have statuses, which are like default, which is when they first come in, unfinished application, applied no book, which is they applied but didn't book in, of course, low budget applications, call booked, no show or cancel, and then kind of like follow-ups and deposits and payment plans. And with these, we can make smart views. So what smart views are they're essentially like collections of leads. So if I went to all of our leads, we'd have like 12,000. And in these views, I can tell you exactly where the lead has come into the funnel. I can tell you if they've filled in a type form, kind of their details. But for example, I have a smart view, which is basically all of our Discord free community opt-in leads. I can tell you exactly where they've come from. And then our setters can also call them, of course, and we can filter them. For example, I have a smart view, which is the last 72 hours of qualified applications that haven't booked in to make sure the setter is calling every single one. And I can tell you exactly which ad or which content they've seen to do that. So that's really important to have these custom smart views. I like to have some webinar ones. So for example, webinar registrations from the webinar, then they move to attended when they attend the webinar, then they move to applied if they apply and booked if they book. And then we also have like a deposit section so we can keep track of the deposits for the offer. And inside of your CRM is where all of the emails can be sent, all the email flows. So for example, that workflow that I mentioned before with people who have applied but haven't booked in, if I just show you here, that is set up inside of the workflow section of Close CRM. And there's the exact same thing in the automation section of GHL. And how this is essentially done is it is triggered when a lead gets applied no book as the status, and they get that status through Zapier when they apply but don't book in. And then the workflow cancels if the lead status goes to DQ, follow up, or booked call, or paid, or won or lost. So if someone, it basically cancels if they book a call, but also the setters can change them to lost, and then they'll stop getting emails. Apart from that, I think that's pretty much it in terms of like the basics of setting up a CRM. I think it's the basics of what you need to know, and feel free to ask AI to help you, set this up in more detail. Or in my licensing, I go over it in literally every single detail, every single step of getting it set up from A to Z. So that's tracking. That's CRM, UTM, Slack, and Zapier, and all of that stuff that you need set up. The final thing that you're going to need is tracking. So what we use inside of our offers is a very simple post-call form built inside of Airtable to track everything, where essentially this is a conditional logic form where we input the call or payment date, the closer, the setter, the client details, the outcome of the call. So whether it was won, a deposit, disqualified, no-show, remainder collection, or rescheduled, all of the details for the clients if they're on a payment plan, which funnel they came from, if they came from an ad. All of this data then goes into here, the all section. And essentially we can see every single lead. Where essentially we can see every single lead, the call outcome, the cash collected, and even the UTM source, which we automate with a Zap into the Airtable with the automation that triggers the call outcome. We have the call outcome channel inside of Slack, which looks like this, where we can see if a lead no-showed, if a lead paid a remainder, whatever that looks like. And then we can also filter just by sales. So for example, I can see every single bit of cash collected that we've done. I could even make filters for webinar funnels and all of that side of things to see exactly where our sales are coming from. And then all of this SRF data links to this interface, which I'll show you here. This is a live dashboard for one of our clients. We've done $165,000 in cash this month for him, over $200,000 in revenue, where I can see our exact close rate, how many calls we've got on the calendar. I can then go ahead and filter for an individual closer on the team. So for example, for Matthew, I can see that he's closing at 33.67%. His AOV is only $2,000, so that's kind of on the lower end, but he's collecting the most cash on the team. And I can see kind of cash collected by closer. I can see a bunch of different things, like which programs he's closing, and all of that side of things, whether it's PIF or whether it's a payment plan. And it's really important to know your data. Essentially, the biggest metrics and levers that I can pull are getting the creator and getting us as a company to double down on sources of traffic that lead to sales, not just volume. And also I can see clear data on close rate, on show rate, making sure that I can increase price when necessary, when I know there's a bottleneck with the show rate. So for example, right now our show rate has tanked because we're expanding more to pay traffic. And it also helps me understand that if my cash per booking as a statistic is $500 and my cost per call is $100 from ads, I'm running like 5x ROAS, so I can scale those ads. So there's a bunch of different levers you can pull just by tracking your data correctly. And this is how we do it. Like I said, in licensing, I give you this kind of done for you. It's a very easy setup, but if you're a tech wizard, you could probably set up something similar for yourself just with what I just showed you. The final piece of the puzzle to all of this, to growth operating, is sales. Most people I work with inside of licensing, and even myself, we come from a sales background, from setting, from closing. So this might actually be the easiest part, but if you've never been in sales, this is actually probably one of the hardest parts. So typically there's like 3 stages to having a good sales team. Hiring the right talent is important, and you do need everything like else in place here to have a high performing sales team, because if not, like they're just not going to know what to do. There's not going to be no tracking. There's no CRM. They can't even contact leads. They're not going to see the leads coming through Slack or Zapier. The leads won't even come in if you don't have the funnel. In terms of hiring sales reps as a growth operator, I highly recommend going through Jackson Barsley. He is a very well-known recruiter in the sales space. You go through his link in bio and you send like a hiring thing. You'll be placed in all of the major sales training groups, and you'll get a lot of looms sent to you for interviews. When hiring, always ask for custom looms from sales reps. What I look for is hunger and just commitment to the offer. I don't obviously, skill set is very good, but for setters especially, hunger is the main thing. Closers I'll hire more from experience, but setters I will hire anyone who's hungry, basically. Not anyone, but the best candidates who are the most hungry. And out of the best looms, when I was doing sales management, this is what my sales manager does now. Out of the best looms, he does quick one-on-one interviews and role plays, asking questions like this, what are their current goals, to make sure that we can actually provide them what they're looking for in an offer. Why do they want to do setting or closing? What's their why behind what they want to do? What makes them reliable, consistent, and how they will go about handling basic objections in kind of a role play situation. My biggest advice for interviews as well is to always do more than you need, and create a pool of sales reps on a spreadsheet that you can reach out to in the future for when you're hiring. When you onboard sales reps, it's very important to have a very good onboarding process. What we do for our onboarding is like this kind of checklist for closers. So adding them to Slack or Discord, adding them to the Calendly round robin event, inviting them to Calendly, creating them a Google Workspace account for the offer, making sure they share their calendars to the setters, adding them to the payment processors, so WAP or fan basis, and making sure they've been walked through the funnel so they understand the journey of the lead. And you can see here how we kind of structure our onboarding docs with the offer detail document, first of all. Then we kind of show the traffic and the client interviews so that they have an understanding of that, and also so they can go through the funnels, the individual program overviews, the SOPs on the CRM and how to use it, also the client agreements, the logins, the frameworks that we use for everything, and some SOPs, the EOD forms that we run for the phone setters. Same thing, same with the DM setters with the frameworks and the EOD forms. Also how to use the call outcome form that I discussed, and also view access to the Airtable and a few other SOPs and individual documents so that they can see their data, and kind of creates a very good competitive environment in the office if all of the team can see each other's data. Next, scripts. Like I said at the start of the video, you can use AI to adapt these scripts. So I'm giving you some real source here. With DM setting, the most important thing when hiring DM setters is making sure they're just not retards who just follow a script. For me, DM setting is where I start. It's very, very easy. Essentially, what you want to do in terms of DM setting is have touch points. Speak like the offer owner, never use a script word for word, acknowledge the prospect so you don't sound like a robot, and use proof, case studies, YouTube videos, sales assets throughout the conversation, not only when pitching the call. This is kind of the core framework that we use kind of as like touch points across leads. If the leads are warmer, we'll book them in quicker. If leads are colder, we have to obviously have a longer conversation. But typically we start off with like qualification to remove DQs immediately, find really like the North Star or the interest of what's got them into the funnel. Then kind of a bit more deeper qualification on, income and that sort of things. Current situation, some urgency, struggles, like what's actually holding them back from achieving their desired outcome. Throughout the conversation, you should be doing this, not only just before the call pitch, and then if they are a good fit, we can pitch the call and then book them in for a call. With phone setters, I'm just gonna you can screenshot this in terms of our triage script. So when leads book into a call, we have phone setters calling up, making sure they're confirmed, adding them to a WhatsApp group with the closer. That's another SOP that we run. And you can actually, I'm just gonna scroll down this slowly so you can screenshot and do that side of things. Same with the closing framework. This is like a very basic, just closing framework for the discovery, current situation, problem awareness, solution awareness, desired situation, cost of an action, and then pitch. With the pitch, we use a 3-pillar pitch. So once again, I'm going to scroll down on this. I don't obviously spend too much time on this. It's like kind of like a one and done for each offer, where essentially you can make your pitch into like a 3-pillar thing. And then when we pitch, we often do the 3-pillar pitch, and we show inside of the Discord community for the offer, we show the client results to make sure that leads know that, okay, this is actually real and people are doing really well with this. So you can use these to build out your closing, phone setting, DM setting scripts, and also make sure you're doing the WhatsApp SOP. I have a full video on it in, I think, the webinar module, but essentially how it works is the setter, when calling a lead, will say, hey, Just before your call, I'm going to add you to a WhatsApp group with the closer name. Can you please introduce yourself there? So the lead will say, yes, I'm going to introduce myself. Them introducing themselves already increases the show rate because it's a commitment. The closer will then send a custom video, a video saying, hey, got the call soon, just so it builds that familiarity between the lead and the closer. The closer and the setter will then send custom picked sales assets, YouTube videos, resources that can help nurture them before the sales call, just to make sure our show rate and our close rate is as high as possible. Then in terms of accountability and training with a sales team, building a team culture is the number one most important thing with a high performing sales team by far. I've scaled offers to 250K a month, 300K a month cash, and culture is basically the most important thing. The team's goal, the company's goal that you're scaling should be so big that the individual's goals can fit inside of it. So making sure that, let's say you have 3 closers on your team, all of them want to make 10K a month. The team's goal should be 300K a month because they're on 10% commission. They should all be cash collecting 100K a month. The team's goal should be 100K so that the individual goals can fit inside of it. In terms of team meeting, we run one big team meeting on Monday at the start of the week to review numbers and set goals and kind of review how the week has gone. And then individual training and accountability calls multiple times throughout the week with the setting team, with the closing team individually, and then also some one-on-one calls where needed with individual team members to make sure we're training up the reps and keeping them as accountable as possible. So there you have it. That is my full course to growth operating. I've gone through in as much depth as I could building this over the past couple of weeks. Like I said, if you want access to me, if you want access to my acquisition systems, the lead scraper, genuinely a lot more detail than all of this in terms of step-by-steps, access to all the funnels where you can basically save yourself a ton of time. Copy and paste this, consult with me, get my advice, and scale your own growth operating business or info agency to upwards of 50K a month like I have, then the licensing program might be a fit for you. There's going to be a short video kind of explaining what it is, showing you around the offer, showing you what's involved. And if you're a coach who's somehow watching this and you want to partner with my agency, there's a VSL for you as well. Apart from that, drop me a follow on Instagram, connect on Instagram. If you got some value from this, I'd love to know. And take care. Peace.